Yeah, so, over time, I decoded what angels are and how they work, because I realized angels are not beings or what people imagine them to be. It's just another name for this technology. So we've got, cherubim, seraphim, Elohim, Anunnaki. All these names are different names from different cultures, but they're all referencing the same thing. That's what I realized. They're all talking about the same thing. And the same thing just has to be technology. They don't know how to word it. Imagine it'd be like a caveman looking at the back of a TV set. You try and describe what you're looking at if you don't know what you're looking at. That's why a lot of these descriptions in holy books don't make a lot of sense until you realize they're trying to describe technology. I'm still looking for this image. Don't worry, I'm looking.
That saying reminds me of the saying you just said. It reminds me of, it's like explaining a dog to someone who's never seen it and then asking them to draw it.
Yeah.
Right? It's
yeah.
like, yeah,
I've got it here. Right, I've got it here, so I can share it now. Maybe there it is. Right, so if you look at this, you've got a male and female character in the stained glass window. But look behind the heads. They always have this halo behind the head. So the halo is what it's actually referring to. It's an electromagnetic coil. And if you look at the sun halo, you'll see why we come to these conclusions. That's the sun halo's configuration on the left. A small halo and a large halo intersecting, creating a vesica Pisces where certain things actually can be placed on the map. So does that make sense, what I'm looking at? With the technology being referred to is actually the halo behind them. The one on the right is female, so it's going to have its own character, like negative electric magnetism, whereas the one on the left, it's electric, and it's going to have positive electric. So it's electromagnetism is what this is all telling you about. Our world is governed by electromagnetism coming from very large halos, which are actually electromagnetic coils. So this is where my research was going, and it didn't start with this one. This is a later decode, but I already knew when I was covering the Nazca lines, and I was realizing in there we're actually looking at personifications. They're using little characters to personify the process or the angel itself, because each angel has a process to do. They're all involved in creation processes. This is a modern name that we call, this technology ended up with the name angels. If you want to go by like a holy book's description, in today's terminology, you would call them saints. This is how they're marking them on the map. Your churches and cathedrals come with a saint name. It'll be female or male. Sometimes the two of them are involved. It's this technology that they're marking and referring to. I've jumped ahead of where I should be here because I was going with the last lines, but I wanted to show you how the technology is hiding behind personifications in these two examples here, because you're going to start seeing this yourself everywhere. Things are going to start jumping out to you once you start looking at it with eyes that we've got. We know what we're looking at. We know what it's depicting, what it's telling you. It's a story about how this technology works, and it's being personified and brought to life in books. When you read a book, you bring these characters to life, but you have never been told that these characters are not people, the technology or processes of the technology. This is how they've basically tricked the human race into believing in holy book type stories and a fake creator. Well, I would call it a magic wand creator, because creation's never been defined before. I've never been religious because no one could ever define to me what was created and how. I like the meat of it. I want to know. I want to see the proof. If this world's created, okay, you've got to show me how it was done. And you won't find that in holy books. Actually, you will, but you're looking at personifications of the process. This is what they've done. So you're reading these holy books. You're actually learning about how this technology works. That's holy books, creation stories, everything we look at, all the sacred geometry of the world's telling you the same story. It's all about this technology. But, I've jumped ahead of where I originally started. It's hard not to do that because you're going to, you know, when I mention technology and none of you have followed our research there, you're going to think, well, where's this technology? What's he on about? So I'm showing you how we define it in these images. Because you're going to find this in our work. We start decoding images like these to show you what it's really depicting. And all of these are marked, site markers. They're marking sites on the ground.
Maybe you can show some of those animations about the rainbows and...
Yeah, in fact, I don't know if you've watched the rainbow. I made some short videos on the rainbows to explain what you were actually seeing with rainbows. What I decoded was this technology's got a unique signature, and it's the rainbow. The rainbow is an effect. The cause is this electromagnetic field below it, this sphere. I'll play this video because I explain a bit of it in this video. Is that okay with you, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk over it yourself or if there's sound.
Well, I'm actually talking in the video, so I'll have to mute while it's on.
Yeah.
and then you can ask questions if you want. But I'm explaining what you're looking at here with a rainbow. The question has been asked if we all see the same rainbow when one appears. Now, the answer depends on what you think a rainbow actually is. If you think it is a two-dimensional thing like a cardboard cutout, then the answer would be no. We don't all see the same rainbow. However, the simple answer is yes. We do all see the same rainbow. Now we will investigate the complex answer and define the rainbow. As you can see in this clip, the observer sees a rainbow. The incidence of light from the sun behind him aligns the rainbow to his perspective. Now we pan around to observer 2, and as you can see, the rainbow revolves with the shift in perspective, as it also does to observer 3. So what we have is something that the sun is illuminating that changes its angle due to sun location and perspective. What we are really looking at is a half sphere sticking out of the ground which reflects and reflects light. This is what creates the colours of the rainbow, similar to a prism but spherical. A time-lapse will show you the rainbow merely revolves around this sphere as the sun moves. If you can view it from above, you get to see the full circle rainbow, created by this sphere. We walk, fly and drive through rainbows every day. We just don't see them. But they are always there. Every rainbow you have ever seen since you were a child is still there today in the exact same place. When cars drive alongside the field of one, the rainbow will appear to move. This is due to the vehicle moving and the light still illuminating the sphere, which will appear to move in front of you like this video clip shows. It is really the sun illuminating the field ahead of them. This stops when they exit the field, or the sun can no longer illuminate it due to clouds or other obstacles. So you can drive through a rainbow, you just don't understand that it's not a two-dimensional thing, but a three-dimensional sphere that resides there, permanently. This time-lapse by John Magnusson shows the rainbow revolving around the sphere as the sun goes about its travels. I recommend time-lapse if you wish to see nature working. This full circle rainbow was captured by Nugmeister with his drone in Wicklow, Ireland. Here he gets up close to it. All you need is some altitude to see the full circle. Any questions on that video?
Wow, that was really amazing. I mean, so you're saying like every rainbow that is a sphere we can't see, and it's always there. So it's
Yes.
only when the right condition are there the rainbow appear.
Yes. Now, mainstream tell you, sunlight and rain create the rainbow. Well, that's wrong. Sunlight and rain help reveal the rainbow and the sphere that created it, is how it should be worded. That electromagnetic field below the rainbow is what's actually creating it. It's that's called creating the rainbow. Rainbow is an effect of light passing through it or being trapped inside it, refracting and reflecting from it. That's what we're actually seeing. That's why we see a double rainbow. It's reflecting and reflecting off that sphere.
So what does this sphere do?
The sphere is generated by the Angel technology and is part of how they create. Do you want to see part 2 of this?
Oh, yes.
Right, because
I just wanted to mention really quick, it's very fascinating to watch very small children draw a rainbow and watch the order. Some do the red first, some do the violet first. And I think it's because we have an inherent memory that it is a circle, and it depends on which angle you're looking at it, or angel you're looking at it, right?
Yeah. They kind of reverse, don't they? In between the black band, the black band's called the Alexander band. So what you're seeing above the black band is being reflected off the field, and what's below the black band is refracted inside the field. It's trapped inside. So that's why you get the reverse in rainbows.
Thank you for explaining that, because I was one of the kids that never drew it. I drew it the opposite. So thank you for giving me some insight.
Yeah, reflected light and refracted light, that's what creates the rainbow. And it's this sphere that's doing the refracting and reflecting. Decoding the rainbow, cause and effects part 2. Now that we know the rainbow is a localized event, you can study the localized weather that gets created in your locations. The most obvious are the winds, clouds, rain and lightning. All of these can be tied to local events. There are local, national and international events. We will focus on the local events. You will have noticed the wind speeds suddenly increase, even doubling in speed and going in specific directions. We usually witness the winds and even clouds rushing towards the rainbow that is active in that area, whether you can see it or not. The winds and even weather vanes can point you to your nearest rainbow. Trees will bow in their direction. The winds will pass through that rainbow and continue the flow in a preset direction. This is not just wind but alternating electrical potential. You can witness this as you watch the clouds as they spiral to and from your local rainbows. You will also witness clouds being created in the exact same place. Cumulus and cumulonimbus clouds play a specific part in a vertical or column type role. Stratus clouds play a part in a horizontal role. The anvil cloud is a perfect example of these two processes where one creates the column and the other flattens the top due to its horizontal spiraling effect. You can sometimes capture the horizontal rainbows which are the cause of the lunar wave. They are stationary and the moon travelling in the background can reveal their presence. Saturn and Jupiter can also reveal them. They are to be found above your vertical rainbow. So we have two effects taking place above the rainbows which repeat into the layers, and we are presented with slightly different effects depending if it is a vertical or a horizontal layer. Watch the clouds carefully and you will see them spiraling. A time-lapse captures this perfectly. I'm sure you will have noticed at some time the edge of rain, a wall of rain and a sunny dry ground beside it. This is due to the rain being contained within the field of the rainbow. Its spherical shape has a limited reach. I've seen this many times. You may remember a dry day. Then you drive through a wet patch and half a mile later it is dry again. This is a localized rain event. You will notice this more now. Lightning. We've all seen lightning. Now we can pinpoint it down to an event of the rainbows as it is coming from the field beneath them. It is a localized event showing us this field is electromagnetic in nature. We see lightning coming downward and also going upward. You may remember your hair rising up when there's a storm. It is this field that is attracting it. It also means be very careful as the field is active and live. Any questions on that video?
Now, I was thinking about, I think some of the other videos I have seen from you where you show all the rainbows coming together, where you can see the different spheres on top of each other and the overlap.
Yeah, because, you know, like I've explained, they stack on top of each other. What happens is you get the little one that gets pushed up into the next layer as the one below, a bigger one below it comes up and pushes that one up. Then it does it again and again, and the bigger one's always kept at the bottom. The little guy is sitting at the top. So the smallest rainbow always ends up on the top. That's your sun, your moon, and all the other planets. They're the same process. But locally to you, you know, you haven't got a planet. You've just got your spheres going into the sky, and the layers that they're in, you can actually detect them. If you've seen the images in that video, where there's half a horizontal rainbow in the sky. That's the male layer that's sitting on top of this female layer. The female's the vertical, the male's the horizontal. So the female's always on the ground layer, and above that it's female, male, female, male, female, male into the sky, depending on how many coils are connected to this. I've found out there seems to be at least a base layer of 4 minimum. I've mapped 6 locally. But that could even be more, you know. So they get bigger and bigger. So sometimes they're going to be hard to map the big ones. But we estimate most people should be able to find 3 or 4 locally and be able to map them.
And how do people map a rainbow the best way?
Right. Let me grab an image from Discord again. Yeah, the easiest way is, you know, if you've got altitude, or if you can see where the sides touch down, you've got to see where the sides are touching down, because then you can see, you know, like trees or buildings behind the rainbow. So it means it's in the foreground. So that's a good marker, because that's showing you it's local and close. Here's one here. Yeah, I'll share the screen. You see this rainbow? It's coming down into this field just across the road. You can see the hedgerow through it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So a good touchdown, it would be that field there. Say the middle of that field, that's a good marker. So that's one side of it, and you have to do the same with the other side. You need to find the touchdown, and what you do then, in Google Earth, you can go, you know, say that house was the marker, put a line from there to where the other side is, and that'll give you its diameter. What we do then is put a circle around that diameter. That shows us where it is in the ground. Because remember, we're looking at a full circle halo in the ground that's generating this. It generates the sphere that creates this. So we're looking for the electromagnetic coil that creates this is what we're actually mapping. And then you're going to find where buildings, sacred geometry, and other sites like cathedrals, castles, how they tie into this, because they connect to this. They're all markers for this, is what you're going to find. Does that make sense? And is that easy to follow about mapping them?
I have a question. If you have looked at Stonehenge to see if that's at the center of one of these electromagnetic points or spheres, and also that if they shift over time, you know, as ley lines.
Your local ones don't shift. They are local, you know, they're permanently local. They move luminaries that move, they're the ones that move across the map, and they're interfacing with your local ones. So when you get a storm, that's something passing, that's interfacing with one of your local angels or more. That's what a storm is. You know, your winds will increase, you'll get a bit of rain, showers, and then the rainbow might appear if you're lucky. That shows you it's interfacing with that technology there. We'll get deeper into what's actually taking place as they're interfacing later in this video if you want, because you know what they're actually creating when the interface is important, because this is what they are creating when they're interfacing. They're actually creating, and it crosses the map doing that. This is what causes all your tornadoes and water spouts. It's this technology crossing the map. So, like I said earlier, you know, this explains all of the effects of nature. That's what we've been decoding. All these effects of nature can be answered by this technology and how it works. and all the sacred geometry and everything else that's actually referencing it.
So you're saying below this rainbow, in the center of that, there's a technology, what you will call like CERN, or a particle accelerator.
Yeah, man's calling them a particle accelerator, but they're not. It's not doing what man's telling you. They're telling you they're accelerating particles. They're not. You accelerate the poles on this technology, and that's what creates the electromagnetic field that creates the rainbow. It creates an electromagnetic field. The faster you accelerate them poles, it creates a sphere.
So what about the moving part you talked about? Is that moving below ground, or does that?
Well, that would be like the sun moving across the map. That's the sun in the sky has got a physical model in the world below that's elevating there as it crosses the map. The sun's being elevated into the sky from below. It's a process below that's creating it and lifting it, elevating it into the sky.
Can I ask one thing? That
Sure,
I imagine when you're saying that, like, are you saying like if you just for some kind of visual example in my brain,
Yeah.
like if you put the two magnets, you know, against each other, and it's like the whole hovering thing. Is that what you're trying to say? Like with the sun, it's coming from below, like that same type of field.
That field that
it's
elevates.
floating it. Like, okay.
Yes,
I don't know if that makes.
What they
thank
are,
you.
they're electromagnetic pressures.
Right.
Wind is actually electromagnetic pressure waves. That's probably the proper name for wind.
Okay, thank you.
And it is alternating currents. The alternating is coming from the north and south poles. This is what creates electric. The north and south poles alternating. That's what creates electric. So the electricity's always been here. This technology is what's creating it. And they manipulate it and transfer it around the grid. This is what these are actually doing. Because, you know, they are creating from the electric and all the gases and the processes that they're doing. But it's also channeling it down into the ground, into the grid.
Fascinating. All this is like filling in little holes in all the paths I've gone on research, you know, and it's just so fascinating. Thank you so much.
Right. Now, this video here is about 34 minutes long. I don't know if you want me to play all of it. I would recommend you do watch it. If you want me to play it, and at any time during it, you can shout stop and I'll pause it if you want. You know, if you want to ask about something in the video, but this video is it's going to extend on what we've just talked about and how this elevates into the sky. I'm going to show you in this video how they elevate. What I'm actually, you know, you'll see them moving across the map, being elevated kind of thing. I've made animations in this video to explain what I'm talking about. So we're showing you, where they are. This video will show you how they create and how we locate them. You know, just using the rainbows, you're going to locate an angel. Now you might want to call this technology something else. Its original name, I've no idea what its original name is. Anunnaki, cherubim, seraphim. You know, you pick one. I'm just calling them angels, but they've all got different roles and processes. There is a hierarchy of angels where the little one gets elevated to the top, see? That's the king at the top. The queen's the lady at the bottom that's doing the elevating. So this is where your kings and queens, these are where your royal titles come from. It's nothing to do with humans. They've stolen it from this. So if you think royals are real, they're not. They're personifications of this. Literally personifications of this technology is what they're doing. A quick breakdown on that. When the Roman Empire invaded our lands, it was for this. They've taken control and all knowledge of this technology. That's why they invaded everywhere. And it's still going on today. At some point in history, they rebadged from the Roman Empire to the British Empire. The British Empire is the Roman Empire still. And if you want to see its expansion, look no further than Lincoln statue in America. Look under his hands and you will see the emblem of Rome there. The Roman Empire has expanded into USA. It actually runs most of the world today. Someone's asking a question, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I had just heard a deep researcher for Ireland and saying that the Roman Empire didn't actually extend to Scotland and Ireland, that it stopped in England.
Well, I've got bad news for people of the north. Scotland capitulated. Scotland joined them. This is where the Scottish Rites of Freemasonry come from. No one else has got that but Scotland. And Scotland actually, with England, stole a lot of land from Wales. What's happened in Northern Ireland is that's the Empire grabbing a foothold in Ireland. The Empire, these are colonies of Rome. England, part of Scotland, Northern Ireland, USA.
I know the USA is. Yeah.
There's lots, yeah, they're all colonies of Rome. They're all footholds in nations that these people have used us for. Our ancestors were used to progress to where they are today. We've all been used. They used everyone to progress and steal this without you actually knowing what's going on. But yeah, you know, we can go into that another time. Do you want to see this video? Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Here we go. Tribes of the world, I bring you the most amazing news and information. For over 8 years now, this research team has been doing a live research, decode, and investigation into what this world is and how it works. What we have repeatedly been finding is evidence that this world is governed by technology. By that, I mean technology below ground that is responsible for all of the effects of nature. These effects include rain, snow, lightning, winds, earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, tornadoes, waterspouts, and many other phenomena. This technology we have also been decoding from various holy books, the Book of Enoch, sacred geometry, the Nazca lines, temples, sacred sites, and many other avenues we have covered over the years. We also have many visual sightings of this technology in the heavens: the sun halo, the moon halo, the lunar wave, the inverted rainbow we often see above our heads, even a clear daylight capture of one of these halos. Our research is evidence-based and ties in with our decodings of sacred geometry and every creation story we come across. You see, what they have done is personify this glory over time to help explain its workings. That message is easily lost and confused with our ancestors being accused of worshipping false gods, when in reality what we can see is they were actually glorifying the creation and the angel technologies that help create this world. They were all explaining how it works. This seems to have stopped 2,000 years ago, and ever since it has been systematically erased and replaced with other theories. Do you really think all of our ancestors got it so wrong? What all of this means is there is a creator, and their glory is the angel technologies below our feet, which is referenced everywhere once you know what you are looking for. The creator's glory is not copyright to any race, religion, group or nation. Who would dare to try and copyright such a thing? The angels have a very unique signature, the rainbow. This is caused by a plasma torus field being generated by the angels and the sun refracting and reflecting from this field below the rainbow. The rainbows reside where you see them, and they can be mapped. This is why we started Operation Rainbow Warrior, to ask people to start mapping their rainbows, so we can add them to a database and map and reveal their locations in the world. Would you be surprised if I told you every rainbow is marking a sacred site below? Marked and unmarked, known and unknown. As you join this amazing project and work of ours, you will learn how the angels in your neighbourhood create your local weather. We have many hints and tips to help you to get to know your local angels. They are usually in groups of 4, so you are looking for 4 rainbows in close proximity and all at a different scale. It is not unique to 4 rainbows, as there may be larger ones to add to this. We have released many videos over the years and done several interviews on the subjects we have covered, from the correct world map, how they seal the off to hide there is a beyond in all directions, and how the seasons work within this map using a decode I did of the Nazca mandala, as I overlaid it with maps until I found the correct map, of which is the Mercator map. No one is crossing the Pacific. The flight data and websites are being manipulated and the data is being flipped to appear to cross the international date lines. This theory of ours has never been debunked. No one can prove they are crossing the Pacific. Don't you find that strange? This is what World War II was all about, taking control of the perimeters. They're all working together to hide this from the people. This has been an ongoing progression of tribal knowledge and destruction of many tribes' creation stories, which all tell the same story. They just have different names for it all. In this video, we go deeper and reveal the spirit form of this technology and how it works, with various references and decodings. So much so, we are going to show you the Angel's creation process and many other decodes of this amazing technology our Creator has installed inside the Earth. 9 years ago, I never believed in a Creator. Today, I present to you overwhelming evidence of their existence and their handiwork, thanks to the help of the APM Research team, the Rainbow Warriors, those very observant sky watchers across the plane, and our unique decodings of a great many things. A word of caution. What you will see is going to change the way you look at the world forever. You cannot unsee this. You cannot debunk this. You can only add to it, which reveals more. Our ancestors were all being taught this in every tribe. You will recognize many parts of our research from your own creation stories, of which we will be decoding more of soon. This is not a religion, this is reality, and it is copyright to none. It is the birthright of every human being to know of this glory, to understand how it works, to partake in its grace, and to protect it from human interference, sabotage, reverse engineering and theft. I hope you would all agree on that. This information overrides all human protocols, jurisdictions and laws, as there is no law above the Most High, for this is what this is all about, our Creator and their glory. What you are looking at on screen is a capture by Sunset Sweden of a waterspout. This is one of the most amazing things you could ever witness in your life, and that is a very big understatement. This waterspout was recorded in Tylösand, Sweden. What we are witnessing is an interface event between the physical angel below and its spirit form above. The interface event takes place through the Vesica-Pisces overlap of the two halos, or coils, which represents the female vagina. The male penis is often depicted using obelisks. It is this process they are referring to, the interaction of the angels and how they create. The personifications we see in stained glass windows, sacred geometry and more, are referring to this process. You will come across many sexualized depictions that actually refer to this process. This is the way the angels create. It is a two-way interaction. This is creation before your very eyes, and exactly how the angels create the noble gases and elements from the spirit world above to the physical world below where they reside. These interactions take place every day. They are more common than you think, as creation never stops. We are showing you how to locate your local angels and record these interface events. We will be highlighting more sites across the world where this is very obvious. Some shape the land where it takes place and some do not. Tornadoes, waterspouts and dust devils are signs of this interaction taking place. It can be worded like this: that by the angels of God ascending and descending, it is to be understood that a perpetual intercourse should now be opened between heaven and earth.
Dros Cymru dwi'n rhoi'r ddawn o weledigaeth rhaid mapio'r enfys. Castell Dinas Bran. Mae'r llygad yn ffenestri isfyd. Mae hwn yn chakra y rhymwyneb Vesica-Piscis o anghelion.
Castell Dinas Bran. I remembered this tour from a previous visit to this site. Like Glastonbury Tor, it is an interface site. The castle on the top will be built on top of older Celtic forts. It is not what is upon the surface that is sacred, it is what is below. If anyone lives near this area, do look out for the rainbows. I'm not sure if this one is real, but do let us know and help us mark them on the map. This is a Vesica Pisces overlap of two halos which has shaped the land. Shout out to drone pilot Ed Jackson for allowing me to use his aerial captures of this site. This one has spectacular views of Llangollen and an Eisteddfod is sometimes held here. There are more of these sites than meets the eye, and we are going to reveal them to you. Why do they build castles and forts on top of the same sites over and over? What does all of this sacred geometry mean? I have decoded the front of the Valley Crucis Abbey, which you will see later in this video. It all refers to the Creator's glory below these sites. Just locate their rainbows. If anyone from Wales is familiar with the creation story, do get in touch. I can decode it for you. Someone is already going to cover Ireland. England and Scotland will also require representation should anyone wish to see their creation story being decoded with APM eyes. This is a capture of a rainbow over a wind farm in Allenby Bay, Cumbria, on the Solway Firth, England. Captured by a Ms. CRW. She said it was right over the wind turbines. I decided to have a drive up there and meet her and try and record it myself. I didn't capture the rainbow that day, but I did capture an event to the left of where it was. This event I recognised as an interface event. I also decoded that this is Medusa. Medusa is a personification of this process, seen here in a Vesica Pisces depiction. I was gazing at Medusa. I did not turn to stone, but things around me were. Medusa proceeded to soak me for 5 minutes, then gifted me a treasure. True story, but that's for another day. A full circle rainbow, captured by rainbow warrior Phil from Glasgow with his drone. To capture a full circle rainbow, you just need some altitude. Every rainbow is a full circle. Capturing one like this helps to be very precise with its GPS coordinates and diameter, which makes them easier to map. Isn't that an amazing view, people? Look at that. This is a capture by Rainbow Warrior Seeker. Pay attention to the small tree on the left. This is registering an activation from a local angel. You will notice the winds rushing towards it, which helps locate them. On the opposite side of the tree, we always notice a bare patch, which may be caused by the winds rushing through from that direction. In a few moments, this angel is going to change into its spirit world form, comprising a group of 4. I did this decode several months ago, which helped decode a great many other things which will follow. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a group of 4 angels working together would look like. This is how they grace our world in their spirit form. Some are moving, many are stationary. They glide across our world every day doing their roles and processes. Sacred geometry also tells of their story. Our ancestors understood this very well. Do you recognize this? You should. This is Saturn. Saturn's rings are actually its own rainbow. Mama Angel had never seen Saturn before, so I recorded it on my P900 for her. This one's for you, Mama Angel. They say it is 886 million miles away. I don't think so. The moon's rainbow. Under certain conditions, we get to see the moon's rainbow. Look for it and you shall see it. This applies to all of the wandering stars. I see you all, and I'm going to tell your story. First, we will deal with the base layers of 4. This is how I see their configuration and naming convention. Doesn't cutting Medusa's head off make more sense now? This also helped me decode the 400-year reset pole shift event further. Notice how the 4 halos create this configuration. Now I'm sure you have seen tornado events where the tornado is able to lift very heavy objects. This is due to the elevated North Pole of Eve, the largest halo. The spiraling process elevates its poles above itself. This is a localized shift in the North Pole from a passing angel. So do be sure to send us your waterspout, tornado and dust devil recordings, please. This will give you a better idea of what's taking place local to you. Notice the wind direction changes. The Walter-Russell decode at the top confirms this is what takes place with their north poles. I will be able to make a better animation now with this information, which will be out later. Eve compresses the ether and passes it to Adam. Adam expands it into his layer. There is a two-way interchange taking place here, including voltages and elements. Layers and anvil clouds. You can see now why aircraft use the tropopause. They will be flying just above the male's spiraling pressure waves where the air is calmer. The image in the lower left is an anvil cloud. You can see how the top of it gets flattened by the male's horizontal waves, creating the infamous anvil shape. The Vesica Pisces is also clearly visible. Time-lapse cumulonimbus clouds and you will capture this event. There are interactions also taking place above these ones. Also notice the 4 layers in the Schumann resonance chart and the coherent and organized structure they can obtain. With anvil clouds, you will also notice smaller cumulus clouds rising from nearby in a supporting role. These are from smaller halos and don't appear to reach the heights of the larger halo's column. Now we know the reason we see clouds travelling in different directions in different layers. They are all localized angel events taking place at different altitudes of operation. Analog and digital representations. In this decode, we see digital is not a new format. The ancients knew it very well. Their creation stories tell this truth. Walter Russell's motor and the Great Pyramid also use this same design. It has been a blueprint throughout history. This is why it is called sacred geometry. Pillars, layers and temples. In this decode, we see how temples represent the truths of the layers, the female vertical columns and the male horizontal planes. This can be found in every culture under many guises and depictions. Atlas is often featured in this role with his plasma torus field on his shoulders. Eve's cone even plays a part with her elevated North Pole. Statues such as Easter Island with a layer or hat on the heads are also depicting the layers. They represent columns and layers. This is how the angels elevate themselves into the sky. It is a very, very clever use of electromagnetics, electricity being 90 degrees in opposition to magnetism. The Sacred Cross decoded. The vertical bar represents magnetism and the horizontal bar represents electricity, or two angels' columns and layers in the ether. This applies to all crosses. The circle of the Celtic cross represents the plasma tora field or halo. The vertical is magnetism and the horizontal is electricity. The next few images are captures that you can try yourself. This is evidence of our research and has been our path for over 8 years now. There is an order to the creation of elements and the noble gases. This chart made by Walter Russell shows the order things are created in.
All motion is curved. All curves are spiral. All spirals are from the halos of angels and are pressure waves.
As a group of 4, we create these 4 divisions, 2 male and 2 female, each one representing the 4 spirit angels operating within the ether. These are the 4 faces of the angels. When all 4 angels are operational, this is the Trinity. They will assemble themselves into the sky above that location. This is then their spirit world form.
The first 3 spirals do not produce any elements. The creation process starts after that, as the Queen's spiraling cone tightens and rises. The King's cone will come from the duality that is created above this location and will meet with the Queen's cone through the Vesica Pisces. This is often depicted as an angel with a sword. The sword represents the interface event. This is why the King must ask the Queen for permission to use the sword. The interface process starts and ends with the Queen.
When we start up, you will notice a difference in wind speed. As this increases, so do the magnetic and electric pressures that can be witnessed upon the surface as they register as winds and waves. These are our spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism. They modify the ether into a coherent form that is structured and can be manipulated. It is also alternating current due to the polarities constantly switching from our halo's poles.
I am the cathode.
And I am the anode. Permission to use my sword, my queen.
Yes. Let's show them the process. Permission granted, my king. Should we show them the 10, my king?
Of course, my queen. Hold tight, we're going in. I'm sure you would agree our interface event is not much different to your own.
We just bear different children.
And just like you,
We like to hold our little cherubs high into the sky for all to see.
ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to present to you Jacob's Ladder. I command stations 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9.
And I command stations 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10.
I am the Alpha.
And I am the Omega.
I am the beginning.
And I am the end.
Forever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever. This now brings us to the layers. With these decodings and knowledge, we can now structure the layers accordingly. This is not final, as there is more to add, but this gives us a lot to work with, and gives the reasons for the causes of the events we witness in the heavens. This is how the angels structure and configure the layers. Expect a future update on the layers at some point, but for now this will work fine and answers a great many things. Adam, Eve, the apple and the snake. This animation made Lysandra's husband demonstrates how the process works in elevating the poles on the halo. Ignore the vertical pole in the centre, that was just used as a guide. The spiralling process elevates the poles above itself, which is what creates the torus field, which in turn creates the rainbow. Adam is the smaller halo, Eve is the larger halo. The apple is their plasma torus fields, and the snake is the interface event of their creation process. And now the Valley Crucis Abbey decode. This is how I decode sacred geometry of the old buildings. This applies to all buildings of sacred design, including the Tartarian designs. This is a group of 4 angels. Notice Atlas can play 2 roles, one where he is in a supporting layer. Here are several ways I can decode this same group of 4 angels using different expressions. I hope we have explained this in an easy to understand manner and given the Creator's glory some justice, and of course given you answers you have been long seeking. As always, if unsure, ask us questions. We love questions. You are all welcome to join our Discord and our Operation Rainbow Warrior program. We have a great team of people working there and more are joining. With this knowledge you will have revelations of your own. Enjoy them as we do. We should be taught all of this in school like our ancestors were. This knowledge is the birthright of every human being. It is the story of the creation of our habitable world and the luminaries by our Creator and their angels. We give you this knowledge freely and honestly, and trust you will share it and not profit from it. We are showing you the glory. You can go outside and prove this to yourself. Get to know your local angels. For the record, no one on the team is suicidal and all are in good health. Should any one of us be attacked in any way, we will take that as an attempt to hide the Creator for the very obvious reasons we have been decoding and revealing to the world over the past 8 years. I dedicate this video to my mother, Mama Angel, whom I had been given very advanced knowledge over the past 3 years of this research to take to the other side. Love you, Ma. I'll mute it from there because that's just music now at the end. Hopefully that video explained a lot more about rainbows. Questions always welcome, so I'll stand by for your questions or thoughts on what you just seen.
Well, that was amazing. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of questions.
You ask away because we've got lots of answers.
But first, I'm going to ask a question. Mille, she typed she had to go, and yeah. So Mille asked that she's from Portsmouth in the UK, and she said often clouds like they're phoenix or dragon shaped. And she asked, are these connected to the angels take locally?
Yes, I've actually got a lovely photo from Portsmouth of an angel crossing the bay there. Chris F.E. Jackson, he's part of our team, he lives there. And he did capture a massive rainbow crossing the bay there. So, yes, it's probably that one or one of the ones connecting to it that's creating the clouds. An answer for everything here, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe you can answer this because this is the thing that is still puzzling my mind. We're talking about all these particle accelerators, and now I was a little shocked about finding out about the 30,000 numbers. But I know a lot of those are very small particle accelerators.
Yes, there'll be man-made ones. There's man-made ones and there's the natural ones.
Okay, so what is the difference? What does the man-made ones do?
Well, the man-made ones are going to be obvious. They're going to be small scale compared to these. Or these do come in small scale mines. They're not all large like what you're seeing. We've seen ones only a few hundred feet wide. That's rainbows a few hundred feet wide. So we know they come in small size as well as large. So even a small one might still be an original. It's hard to say without looking at it and see if it's got a rainbow. Its rainbow will be the giveaway. If there's a rainbow there, then it was probably already there. That's why we're mapping the rainbows. We want you to map your local rainbows so you know where this technology already is, and man hasn't built there yet. So you will know when they say that they're going to build a particle accelerator in your neighborhood, that they're actually just stealing what's already there. That's why we're mapping them. It's one way of proving they're lying.
So what are they using it for? I mean, stealing this technology?
Well, they've actually stolen our very reality, haven't they? They've stole our reality. We think we live, well, I don't, but a lot of people think they live on a spinning ball flying through space. Whereas we live on something very special that's got very intelligent design and very high-tech technology running it, that these people have got access to that no one's even aware of yet. You see how dangerous this is? They're actually creating the technology that creates our nature and probably is involved in keeping us alive.
So if this technology, these kind of particle accelerators create this world,
they create the gases and elements of this world, which every life form needs to survive.
What do you then think the purpose is? Or are we just a part of some kind of experiment? Or are we here?
That's the million-dollar question, really. You know, where do we fit in with this? We know we've inherited this world. The creator, whoever they are, I don't think they're around anymore. If they are, they could be a million miles away still creating more of this. You know, we would be guessing. But if it's a living being, which it has to be building this technology, then they might have a lifespan. It might not be one person. It might be a whole group of them. We don't know. You know, we can't say who the creator is. We don't know. We would be guessing. And we don't know if they're still around because, as far as I'm concerned, anything living has a lifespan. So they might not be here anymore, which makes me think, you know, that's why these people are stealing it. They know that the creator's long gone or not in this vicinity, and they can get away with stealing this. They're going to lie to the future generations. They put those lights in the sky, the sun, the moon, everything is where it's heading. At some point in the future, in the near future, they're going to lie to future generations that they created this world. That's how serious this is. That's the only outcome you can have from stealing all this technology and pretending you're building it. They're trying to take credit for something that's already here and getting very rich in the process and very powerful. But don't forget, this technology creates all your gases and elements. They're selling them to us. Gold, silver, copper, it creates all this.
I would really like you to, if you could explain that a little bit more, because I don't fully understand that. And I think that comes with the Walter Russell you're talking about. And yeah.
Okay, I'll put Walter Russell's chart on the screen. What is it? Here, this one. Right, this is Walter Russell's chart of the elements. You've seen it in that video there. So the animation I made was it was to represent me and Juniper's falling through from the top of that stack all the way to the bottom, to the ground at the bottom. You know, we live halfway up that first rainbow. That's where the earth would be, the ground. Because remember, half of it's below ground. So where it says 10th octave, that's roughly where the ground is in our world. So we've got half of the rainbow below ground and half above. And then all that rising into the sky above it. So the elements at the side and the gases are what they create in their respective layers. Oxygen is created up here. So trees are not creating oxygen, it's this technology. And you can prove that to yourself. You can create oxygen and nitrogen using electrochemistry. You don't need a tree because trees aren't outputting air, oxygen. That's a lie. They've had to lie about where everything's created to hide where it's really coming from. So they're lying to us that what's creating oxygen. This technology is creating it. It's got its own respective layer. It's up there in the 5th octave. And that's somewhere in the atmosphere, up in the atmosphere. And of course, with being a heavy gas mixed with others, it comes down to our layer. So you can see, you know, every living thing is breathing the gases in from what this technology is creating. And Walter Russell proved you can create gas using technology. He created fluorine gas to show them how it was done. And he did say all of these elements can be made in a laboratory. That's because they already are. This technology is like a huge laboratory below, creating this 24/7. So all of those elements that you see on this chart are being created. That's why you find them in the ground. It's the interface events that's creating it and putting it into the ground. What's happening in these spheres, the Jacob's ladder, that's the actual cause of the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is how the waveforms move within these spheres up and down this stack of spheres. That's the sword coming down the middle. That's what your angel of the sword represents. It's the interfacing of the male at the top and the female at the bottom. That's your queen at the bottom, and the king's the little guy at the top. And all the ones in between are helping elevate them up there. This is why there's a hierarchy: king, queen, and your princes, princesses, brothers, sisters, whatever they want to call them in different books. It's these they're referring to. This is the family connection.
So, and that's also what Walter Russell is saying, like...
Well, I've decoded it further than Walter did. But Walter's not telling you what he's talking about or where this has come from. All of Walter's work, no one in this world can tell you what Walter's work relates to, but I can, because I know what the science is. It's the science of this technology that we're calling angels. It's them that create all this. Now, he did give you a clue, Walter. He says an angel gave him this, which tells me he was part of a reverse engineering team working on one. So was Tesla. Tesla learned a lot of his work from Walter Russell. Walter's telling them all how it works. But so much so that it was beyond their comprehension at the time. They didn't understand half of what he was telling them. But he created a fusion reactor based on this technology. His optical motor is actually a fusion reactor. So nuclear fusion isn't what you think either. It's actually quite simple. It's compressing more to a fusion point. That's all it's doing. Compressing mortar. If you look at what they're doing there, what are they doing? They're compressing all the way to that top. So it charges and discharges. This is how they manipulate nature. Well, they actually create it and manipulate it to create these elements. This is how the angels create.
So if I understand it correctly, it changes the state of the matter all the way up, or...
Yes, yeah. So there's transformation processes taking place depending if it's centripetal or centrifugal forces taking place within each sphere. You've got electro properties and magnetic properties, and the overlap of them is what's creating all of this in the atmosphere. So it's it's creating gold from thin air, basically. It's not thin air, it's actually all the gases and other bits and pieces that's in the atmosphere. And it's bringing it from the invisible world into the visible world. That's where you find gold lying on the ground in Australia. It's falling out the sky, literally. Shooting stars are pieces of this falling out the sky. So a meteor is one of those elements being ejected by that horizontal halo. That's what a meteor is. And you get meteor showers that are regular. They're timed events every year. It's just an angel switching on, creating, and then switching off again. You're seeing that creation taking place by seeing all the meteors falling out the sky. It's elements being produced by these. And they come with certain colours, like copper. It'll fall out the sky and it'll glow green. Depends what layer it's in, because there's gases in it. If you look at this, there's gases in each layer. And the gases will change colour. It'll change the colour of things taking place in the different layers. I've got another meme to show you about the layers. Hold on a sec. On the left, there's some images of what's taking place in the layers. And on the right is what's really taking place. So these effects we see in the layers on the left, like that halo, sprites as they call them, they're part of the interface event taking place, which is happening on the right. So all of those processes taking place in the different layers of the atmosphere are the angels doing interface events. That's what a storm actually is. It's them interfacing. And that means creating. It's a passing one, creating with a local one. And it'll pass from that one and go to another, further down, further across the map. And it just keeps doing it all the time. They'll interface with different angels as they cross the map.
But I still don't understand the thing about, like you say, so it also makes gold and all these elements. So will you always find that below a rainbow? There will be a gold.
Yeah, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Right. You see gold is there, yeah?
Yeah.
Which equates to about here. So it's created in the second layer up. It's created in the tropopause. This is the troposphere where we live. This is the tropopause above it. This is the horizontal rainbow that you see in the sky. It's created here. So it means if it's if there's any going to fall outside of it getting dragged down below, it's going to fall slightly on the inside of your big rainbow. So it would come down about here. So somewhere on one side of your rainbow is going to have a gold field. Then next to it will be lead and mercury and iridium and thallium, bismuth. Now, you might have heard CERN saying that they're working with lead. This is what they're really doing. They're creating lead. In other words, they're doing gold, mercury, thallium, lead, bismuth. They're creating elements, basically.
But where is those elements going?
Down, they come down this interface event to the angel down below. Then it will need processed, which goes to a nuclear processing plant. This is a nuclear process. This is nuclear. This is what a nuclear process actually is. It's this it's talking about, this technology and what it does. It's creating. It's not just, it can create electric, but that's just a side effect. It's creating all these elements, more importantly. And like Walter said, you can create these in a lab. And this is exactly what they're doing. They're stealing all this from the angels and pretending they're creating it and selling it. And your gold markets, you know, there was, I can't remember what year it was, someone dumped 30 tons of gold on the gold market and it crashed a lot of markets. Well, where the hell do you get 30 tons of gold from? Well, it's easy if you've got access to these, isn't it? You got access to these in the underworld or wherever, you know, wherever it's taking it, you can access all these metals. And they will have male, you know, even these have male and field properties. You know, they're not all the ones in the odd layers, the 9th, 7th. That's the male layers. Then you get the female layers that make something different. Silver's made by the female layer, if you look at it. So even all these on here have polarity. They've all got a positive or a negative polarity. Everything that gets created comes with polarity. That's why there's a law of attraction taking place. It's this technology that's creating that law of attraction, electromagnetism.
So is this also, I saw in that video you just showed around rainbow, there's those 8 points with where you say different sides as being spotted like...
right, yeah, okay. Let's jump to the Glastonbury-Tardy code, yeah?
I'm sorry, Rita, I don't know if you had a question to this picture here before we go to that.
I do.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just making sure I understand, like, okay, so like the elements, gold and whatnot, when it's done, is that, are they forming it into physical reality to where it lands on our physical plane that that's how we can see it? It's created and then dropped, or
yes, and
manifested into this reality, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's brought into existence by these processes, and it's just deposited in the ground in rivers, streams, or further deeper into the ground.
And then it's stolen. Okay.
Because that interface event's channeling all the energy down below, see? So you haven't just got electric going down there, you've got all these elements and things being dragged down there with it.
Okay,
this is why we find certain, you know, gold fields and lead fields.
Right.
They're all near each other. There is a pattern to it.
And then whoever it is almost like you're saying, just stealing it and saying it's theirs, and they know how it was created. They're just not letting us know that.
yeah, if they steal them all, they've now got access to all of those elements they create, and they're selling us them, aren't they?
Thank you. Answers my
so
question.
you know, they've taken over the electrical world, so they can charge you electric, which is actually made free by these, and then all the elements and gases. You know, we have to buy gas off them, don't we? Well, it's the angels creating it, not man. Man's just stealing it and selling us it, and getting very rich from it, isn't he?
Right.
It's not you know, it's like dinosaurs, you know. How come we haven't run out of dinosaurs making oil yet?
So would it also be then when lightning, let's say, is coming down, is it actually touching like in our physical reality to where, you know, let's say it touches an element that's here and it creates something from that lightning touching?
Well, the lightning's actually arcing out, you know. What it does is it stores the energy. This is where E equals MC square comes from.
Okay.
The layer at the bottom, the female layers compresses the atmosphere into her sphere. So she's compressing, and the one above it is expanding. So she's compressing all the positives and negatives that she can suck towards herself. Her spiral draws it all in. That's why when it gets windy, it's actually spiraling, drawing it towards that. That's why you showed the trees bowing towards them. You'll notice that when you see a rainbow,
right.
Trees will bow towards it. It's trying to draw everything towards it.
I have. Okay, thank you.
So that's the female layer, you know, pulling everything into her field. It'll then be sent upwards to the male layer above it, which gets expanded into his field. And it keeps repeating up and down the layers. And of course, if you look at the top layers, there's gases up there you don't find at the bottom. But this interface event brings it all together, coming down the center. So this is the creation process, is what you're seeing on screen. This is how they create these elements. Electromagnetic processes, you know, and it's manipulating everything it finds in the atmosphere and ground as it's doing it. This is why you get quartz. Quartz is caused by this interface event. It's the ground reacting to this high voltage force going through it and solidifying it. That's what quartz is. It crystallizes it. It kind of petrifies anything it touches.
Like physical energy now, like it puts its physical energy into it.
Oh
like
yeah,
quartz.
It's
Beautiful crystals.
It's a you know, crystals are a side effect of the process.
Right. Awesome.
So things will get crystallized with this process going on around it, like sand, glass. You know, it becomes glass and all the rest of it. And this is why you find gold in quartz. It's because the gold's been dragged in with all the other stuff. So your quartz veins of gold are, you know, they're caused by these interface events. I've panned for gold. I found it, so I know it exists. That's why we see it in nature. It's been deposited there by this technology. It always will be. So now you know where all the elements come from. You know, nothing's random in this world. It's all organized. Okay,
so this is also creating rocks. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Rocks actually grow. You'll notice they grow over time. That's because there's something in that rock. I've got a metal detector, and some rocks set it off. There's something in rocks that's attracting a negative or a positive towards it. So this is how it works. You've got something that's let's call it radioactive. It means it's emitting energy. So that'll be either a plus or a minus. So the opposite will be attracted to it. It eventually covers it so much that it's now the opposite polarity, which then again starts drawing the other polarity back again. So you end up with stones with layers of plus, minus, as they get bigger. Does that make sense? It's always drawn things towards itself until it's until its radioactive emittance is no longer seen by anything outside of it or influences it. So rocks will get to a certain size, then they might stop, you know, what I would call growing, because the radioactive emittance is not getting outside of that shell anymore. So yeah, you know, creating rocks and stones and things like that, it's a good answer for where they're coming from. Everything grows from something that's got polarity.
Yeah, and also about how things, how matter can change and how they transform into something very different. And,
yeah, you can transmutate metals. Yes, because I mean that's what the angels are doing. You'll find if you watch people that go gold panning and gold digging, you'll find some of the gold contains traces of lead or platinum on them. You can see why, because they're on they're together. If you look at the chart, they're all created roughly next to each other. So you're gonna have an overlap with other metals with your gold, and that's already been proven. People show you that when they find gold. Your platinum group metals, you know, they're very close to gold. They're right next to it if you look at the chart.
I just want to touch on something with all the talk of gold and rivers and water. You've kind of lit up a little light bulb for me. Mm-hmm. Just looking, it was bothering me that the lore talks about the pot, you know, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow with the leprechaun. So I wanted to look into that a little bit as we're all talking. And when you look at the, and then that brought me to, in the USA, what do they do? The lore is, you know, they put all the gold, you know, bars in Fort Knox, which we know that's like a load of, you know, call it what you want, not true. But I wanted to look at the origins. Again, etymology is what interests me too, and tying all this stuff together. So Knox, for the Fort Knox, and again, it's interesting that it's a fort, right, is Scottish Gaelic, according to this, and Old English, and it's relates to a topographical name given to someone who lived near or on a small hill or round-topped hill. So it's funny because you're talking about your intersection points, and where they intersect is giving, the lore is giving a specific location. It's telling you it's the end of the rainbow. And leprechaun means loosely like small body. But what interests me too is the pot of gold. And when you look at ancient Greek, pot is from potamus, meaning river, water. And so it does all relate. So you've got this, water, at the edge, creating the gold. And the small body could be any number of things. You can be talking about the ones who are, doing the trickery and commandeering stuff, or it could be literally a small body of water, where you find this stuff. So I just found that interesting because the pot linked to hippopotamus, like hippopotamus, Potomac River, that's all about the river and the water. So very cool.
Let's go a little deeper on that, shall we? Right, the pot of gold is the torus field that's creating the rainbow. So there is gold at the end of the rainbow. You just don't realize it's the torus field, and that it's the pot of the pot is the torus field is that torus field. It's the pot that it's referring to.
And we have potable water, so it's all connecting. It's never one or all. It's all of these things that blend and bring it all together.
Yeah, and you often see the female depicted with gold, not gold, sorry, with a pot of water, don't you? That's Eve with her waters.
And I guess that takes us to the Aquarius imagery.
Parts of her job, see, is she divides, and the layer above it multiplies. This is what creates rain. Eve divides matter. It doesn't matter what it is. Her process divides matter. So, say water gets divided, right, and it'll rise. It'll get to Adam's layer, and he's going to multiply it, and it's going to come back down, and that's what we call when it starts raining. It's them two creating it.
And then you have your zodiac connection in your model.
That's where your fog and mist come from. It's Eve's process dividing the waters. Now you'll notice it more at dawn or even at dusk. It's sitting waiting for Adam to appear. Adam's the sun, remember. The sun is the big anode in the sky. You've got your local anodes, which would be the male layers on these stack of angels locally. But all of this is relating to the sun or any of the other planets passing where they will interface. So they're waiting for the anode in the sky coming across, and that's when the fog starts rising. It clears, doesn't it? When it gets sunny, the fog usually lifts, and it literally does lift. It goes into the sky. You might not see it, but it does. That's Eve sending up the divided matter. So division in that layer, multiplication in that layer. That's creation. Division and multiplication is creation. That's what the lotus leaf represents. You've got 8 leaves on a lotus leaf, yeah? If you look at a lotus leaf, it's got 8 leaves. Now, on the outside of it, you will see it's got 16. That's doubled, doesn't it? 8 to 16. It's showing you creation. It's doubled. That's where the lotus. If you look, I've done a decode years ago on the lotus leaves from some spiritual image. And there was 8 and then 16, and then obviously 32, 64. This is where we get our resolution for our televisions and monitors from. It all comes from how this technology works.
In the Japanese,
It's
the
crazy.
Japanese emblem for royalty and ascension to the chrysanthemum throne shows the 16 petals, and those 16 petals on the chrysanthemum are the same emblem that are on they dub the watch bands on the Sumerian reliefs of what they call it, the bags and the watches. So the watches, quote unquote, show the 16, which is very
the little guys with the baggies. That's the creators' tools of creation. That's the angels. They're an expression of the angels. That's what the little guys is.
They very specifically have that 16. It's not 12, it's not 10. And that's a question I had as the 12 imagery so pervasive everywhere in the Bible. So the model of the Jacob's ladder you have is showing the 10. And I'm just wondering if you discovered anything with the 12.
Yes, so if you remember from the video, Juniper said the first 3 layers don't create anything. These are showing the layers that do. There's 3 that don't. So it goes up higher than these. So it actually goes to 13.
Right. So I was just wondering if 12 plays into anything in your research.
If in the video she said, "Shall we show them the 10?" These are the 10 octaves that create the layers in the atmosphere. These 10 different octaves are what create the layers of the atmosphere.
Right. So we have 10, we have 8, we have 16, and I was just wondering if 12 plays in anywhere.
Now that relates to this stack here, mind. Locally, going back to the 8 and 16, that hold on a sec. I was going to show you something else as well that you mentioned. Hold on, where is it? Share something else. Oh yeah, it was about forts, because you got on about Fort Knox. Right, what we've discovered, forts and castles and star forts are always in the eye, in here. Well, you see this halo, that's Eve, there's Adam's. Any star forts, castles, or forts are always in the eye. Plus you get obelisks and sometimes like on the top of Glastonbury Tower, like a tower. They're always in the eye. So that we know the castle, say, or the fort would be just near node 1. Node 2 is where we find cathedrals. Node 3 is where fresh water originates from. This is what feeds the streams which create rivers. All your rivers won't run dry because every angel in the land is outputting water from pole 3, and it's creating streams which merge to create rivers. This is where your rivers come from. That's why they never run out. It's coming from local angel events. Number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, we need more work on them, but I would say 7's a lesser water outlet. 8, on your local angel 8, you might find a church or something there. We'll get to that eventually. What's there on the surface? So what we're doing is using this sun halo, minus the sun, of course. Your local angels still look like this, but they're not projecting the sun. They're not elevating the sun. So they've still got 8 poles. Where was I going with this? I was explaining where some things are on them. I can show you a castle where I am, and just not far from it is the cathedral, which would be here. So I can now look on the map and see what connects on the surface to these other sites. Eventually, we'll put things on the surface like a church here, something over here, something here. We'll figure out because all their building and planning goes around what's below there. This is what all the sacred geometry that they're using in modern days. It's hidden in gardens and building designs and things. You'll notice that's the new way, the modern way of depicting it. To those that are in the know, you've got to know what you're looking at to understand what they're depicting, and these decodes will help you understand what they're actually depicting. It's this technology and how it works. So you now know more than most Masons. Most Freemasons won't know what you've seen today. They're never going to teach them all that. The people at the top already know it, but they're not going to teach these ones that run your city councils anything what I've just shown you. Because do you think they would work for them if they told you what they're doing? Probably not.
And
Because you are involved in hiding the creator and stealing their glory here. This is what's going to change the world. Our research and the Rainbow Warriors are going to change the world. When people realize your rainbows can be mapped and we're connecting it to this technology, sooner or later people's going to get wind of it and they're going to say, right, let's find a rainbow where no one's built an accelerator yet, and let's see what's below there. And I can guarantee you're going to find an angel room. The seal of the 144,000 from scriptures refers to these being sealed in rooms below. It even tells you that the underworld is the angel's prison. That's why they're sealed in rooms below. Because of the nature of how they work, they have to be sealed. If you remember the story of Adam and Eve, well, Adam's first wife was Lilith. Now, if you read the story, there was a position they put them in, and it didn't work. And one of them got flung somewhere and landed in some land somewhere else. Well, that's not talking about people, is it? It's talking about two magnets repelling each other. She got repelled, so it didn't work correctly. So obviously it got fixed and renamed to Eve. And this is the configuration where it comes from. Your Adam and your Eve. This is also the scarab beetle. And Buddha. Buddha's the same shape. This is where all these shapes come from.
But the 144,000, would that be enough to cover the entire known world?
Probably not, because in the Book of Enoch, he mentions something about containing hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So for it to work with, that was a start number for us. I mentioned it as a start number. I did say that, that's a start number, because we don't know how many there is. It'd definitely be a lot more than 144,000, unless it means there's say they come in groups of 10, there might be 144 groups of 10, 144,000 groups of 10, which would make it an even greater number, wouldn't it? So I'm not sure what they're referring to when they say 144,000. Is that the full total? Probably not, because we know there's going to be a lot more rainbows than that. So it might just be referring to, the whole group as one. I'm not sure. Well,
But
the best way of finding that out is mapping our rainbows, and might not be in our lifetime, but sometime in the future we'll have a number for you on how many rainbows there are in the world.
how many people are mapping rainbows?
I have no idea.
Just
People
don't
join and we don't see them for a while because, you know, you don't always see your rainbows. Sometimes I don't see mine for months. But people join, you know, they're not seeing them for a while, and they'll come back and let us know when they find one. You know, you'll see someone pop into our Discord and put their rainbow in that they've captured at last. You know, it might take a month to get one. You might be inside one's field and not see it. You might have to go outside of the field to see it. If you're inside one's field, you're not going to see its rainbow because you're inside its field. So you'd have to go outside of its field to actually see it. So the best way of seeing them is put the sun behind you, drive away from where you live towards the sun, then look back when there's a shower going on where you live. And you should see, if you were inside one's field, you'll see it when you go outside of the field. If you're inside it, you're probably not going to see it.
Yeah, and you're also talking about like they normally come in pairs or maybe 3. And I've seen that because that was the reason I actually joined your server. For 5 or 6 years, I've been taking pictures of the very same rainbow with the very same position from my point of view. And after I joined you, and it was just mind blown. So I asked everyone around me in my neighborhood about pictures of rainbows, and I can see the bigger ones coming next to that and actually overlapping the one I'm seeing. And I think that's really interesting. So we have those pairs of rainbows coming.
Yeah, and where they overlap, that's the Vesica Pisces. That's what's referred to as the Vesica Pisces. That's where the interface event takes place.
Okay, so now this picture we're seeing here are those 8 points you were talking about, where we have the water and the tower. So
Each
overlap.
Each one of them's a north and south pole. The odd numbers are north poles and the even numbers are south poles.
And when they overlap with the other rainbow, and we only see one at a time.
You'll only see one at a time. I'm not sure why, but maybe when the reset starts happening, we might see, you know, all of them. I'm not sure what's going to happen on seeing them all, but I notice we'll see one, and then you see a small one, then a bigger one, then a bigger one, and then a bigger one. And if you're lucky, you might see a second one up in the layer somewhere, like the horizontal one. Like I always say to you, look above you, because sometimes they show, and you'll see the male one above you. A rainbow. It looks like a rainbow line on its side. It's actually a horizontal in the layer.
So what in that, what do you call again, Vesica Pisces? What is special in that area? Is there more power there, or
that's where that interface event goes through the center of there? Yes. So that's what's sacred about the sites where your star forts are, your forts and your castles. It's within the eye of the Vesica Pisces. You can see the eye shape it creates where the two halos overlap, can't you? It also resembles a fish. The fish represents the same thing. It's this location that they're talking about.
Oh my! It could be so interesting. I just made a short video about where I mentioned something about water and Egypt and the Osirian. And there they have this, like, you can only see the top of this old structure, and it goes 15 meters down in the ground, and around it there's a moat, or it's filled with water. And when they were excavating it, they kept removing this water, and it kept being filled up, and they couldn't find, it was not connected to the Nile, at least what the paper said. It just kept getting refilled. So that's interesting what you said about that spot with the water.
Yeah, well, the water table below, they access them as well. So, the angels can access what's below them as well as above them. So when he was dividing water, the waters below us are going to get divided and elevated upwards. That's what's creating your mist and your fog. That's Eve, preparing herself ready for the interface event. That's what your angels are doing. They're waiting for the big anode in the sky to cross.
So if we assume that that's how our system and our world actually works, when someone out there must know about it. And that brings me to a question that has puzzled me for a very long time. And that is why our technology all of a sudden advanced so fast. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me unless we are talking about something that has been reverse engineered.
Yes, most of our technology has actually been developed from and derived from this technology. The way the sun crosses the map, in an old video, I showed Jimbo an animation I made of what it's doing crossing the map. And straight away, he said that's a sweepback transformer and flyback killer. Now, a sweepback transformer and flyback killer is what a cathode ray tube does. It's like a typewriter. It'll go across, get to an end point, and then return fast to start again, right? This is what the sun's actually doing. It's crossing east to west, really slow. It gets to a certain point, it's going to shut down or get its light suppressed, then return back east to start again. That return back east is the light in the sky they're calling the ISS. It's that thing on the screen there, what you're looking at returning east in a standby state. That's why it's still got a light on. It doesn't actually switch it fully off. So they're trying to call the light in the sky that we see going west to east, they're trying to say that's a spacecraft. It's not. It's the sun in a standby state returning east.
And that's why they're calling their missions Apollo.
Yes. All of their missions are relating to this. It's all, every mission they do stealing parts of this. All their funding for their missions is not getting spent on space cartoons. It's getting spent in the underworld stealing all this. And other countries are now joining in. This is how you connect who's involved in it. If they've got a space agency or attachments to, if they've got nuclear power or energy, and if they've got particle accelerator technology, it means they're involved in hiding and stealing this.
Do you think that, I think 10 years ago, it was a big thing in news and social media about what they call booms. People were reporting these kind of booms everywhere. They could feel it, but they couldn't. The news came out and said it was not a sonic boom and there was no earthquake detected. My thought was always something was going on underground.
Yeah, we did cover that in an older video.
Yeah.
And I have heard them myself. It was it sounded like a screeching metal noise, but you can't pinpoint where it's coming from. It seems to be coming from all around you. And that's, I thought straight away that's the only place I can think it's coming from is below. What else? What else? There's nothing in this world above the surface that's doing them noises. So they have to be coming from below. So it's probably mechanisms in the underworld doing things. Or man drilling down there doing things.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, man's down there sneaking about as well now. While everyone's looking at cartoons in space, they're busy down below stealing it all. This is what they're doing. That's our theory. This is what our research covers, and the why. It's actually the why of everything. You're going to find all the world's problems, and it all relates to hiding and stealing this.
So how do we, if we're talking about this 400-year reset, how would we make sure? How would you make sure to get this information to next generations? Would you have to go out and make those glyphs on the ground? Or?
Yeah, go out, carve it in stone, any way you can. Our ancestors did the same. All these glyphs and things around the world are blueprints to this technology and how it works. That's what they are, and they're there so we never forget. But we've been indoctrinated to forget. All these temples and everything represent this technology and the layers of the atmosphere. All the depictions relate to this technology and how it works. It always has and always will. And they've slowly but surely eroded that information from our minds over the past 2,000 years. But once you start decoding it again, it becomes more and more obvious what it is you're actually decoding. You can't get away from it. I'll let Joy speak here, because Joy joined us not long, a couple of years ago, and she's been researching herself.
Yeah, well, I suppose my partner, he discovered, or he heard one of FPV's videos where he mentioned that rainbows create the weather, and he said it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, and then I thought about it, and I thought I have to explore this. So I had a picture of a rainbow on a castle, and I sent it into FPV, and he directed me to the Discord channel. And I have been very, very interested in all the information there, and I've actually managed to capture 6 rainbows immediately around me where I live. And before I came to this information, there was one rainbow that I kind of was curious because it kept occurring in the same place. And I had that question, why is it always there? So once I joined the group and started listening to the videos and learning about all of what what FPV has presented today, I decided, well, I was going to have a look at this because it really pricked my curiosity. And I thought, what's hiding from me now? And I was so astounded, actually, that I had 6 rainbows around me and I'd lived in the same place for 20 years and I'd never noticed them. So it's just, it validates for you, the information that's been presented. And it's just so exciting. I can't even begin to tell you, the impact it has upon me, because I've then just been traveling around noticing the locations of, cathedrals and castles, forts. There's a lot of heritage in this country and it's still quite visible. Fortunately, I'm in Ireland. And so I've been able to identify a lot of what I've learned in real time. And I don't know if anybody would like to ask me a question, but it's a very exciting time to come to this information. And I do feel like as if it was a very close call, that it could have been lost so easily. One thing I'd like to mention is the scarab beetle, because it was held sacred in all cultures. And it actually is depicting the 2 halos, the male and the female, and where they intersect is the Vesica Piscis, also the all-seeing eye, and depicted in one of FPV's videos there, the Glastonbury tour, and quite evidently in that shape. So yes, it also helps, when you're identifying the rainbows, the smaller one being Adam and the bigger one being Eve, and also then in the halo that you can see in the sky, in which I've captured quite a lot of the Adam around the sun. And I've also identified or been able to capture 2 nodes of the female halo, which is more difficult to see because you need kind of colder climate for that to show. But and that's exactly what they're trying to hide. As FPV said, it's difficult for them to hide the male circle around the sun, the halo, but easier to hide Eve. I've captured a moon rainbow. Living in Ireland, I suppose we have so much rain. I'm nearly in the house and I'm going, the light looks conducive to me seeing a rainbow. So it becomes a little bit easier to identify them. But I know in warmer climates you get less rain, so it's a little trickier. But yeah, I don't know. If anybody has a question, I'd be happy to answer for you.
I was thinking, do you have any pictures you can share of those?
If you go into the Discord channel, Heidi, there is a room for the Operation Rainbow Warrior, and there's any amount of pictures in there of the rainbows that I've captured, plus all the other people that are mapping their rainbows and recording them and putting them on the database that FPV is compiling, so that we can say, yes, we know these are here, we have them recorded. They're not yours.
I think that's the thing that have changed for me, because for so many years now I have been just focusing on the buildings and the ruins and and we have been circling around this, and I could feel like over the years I'm starting to get a little not fed up. I think it's interesting, but this thing here puts another perspective to it.
Oh yeah, it gives you answers and reasons, and there's a guy on the Discord chat called Kevin, and he calls it the final destination, and I totally can relate to that, because I have been on the circuit of looking for answers, having questions. I see these mounds in this country here. We have lots of kind of rough ground where there be like firs and heathers, and then you have this beautiful fertile mound, and I'm like, what's going on there? What happened there? Why is that so fertile? Did they move soil there? What's going on? But now I know you know, that it's probably a Vesica Pisces place where the creation is, the interface events are taking place and where creation is taking place. Even I was looking at some sites and I was talking to FPV as I was looking at the site, and FPV was able to say to me, go over there, there has to be water. That's possibly node 3 over there. And sure enough, I go there and here's a well, you know, so it's just proving it in real time is exciting, you know.
Seeing really is believing, isn't it? You've got to see it to believe it.
Yes.
That's the beauty of our research. You know, we wouldn't lie to, you know, we wouldn't go around lying to people. We want you to go out and prove this to yourself, because we know you can. We've all done it ourselves. You'll prove what we said to yourselves, and you'll probably start mapping rainbows and joining us mapping them. Yeah, go ahead, Rita, is it?
Yes. Okay. This is, I mean, it's along the lines of this, like, you're a truth caller in a sense. You're, you know, the logical facts that we can find out. Are you ever nervous that, like, or have you had an experience where you've tried, there's been an attempt to make you and your research silent? Because, you know, it seems like so much is controlled, you know, what's allowed for us to see and whatnot, and certain people are taking off certain platforms because of this and whatnot. You know, whenever it seems like some things are truthful, there's tentacles that try to get involved to discombobulate.
I'll explain some of the things. Yes, you know, I'll explain some of the things that's happened over the years. We've had people steal our research, release it under a different name, and monetize it and attach it to a map that doesn't work. So that's disinfo agents and thieves working together, ripping off our research.
Right. Well, what about like secret, we don't know government? I mean, those kind of things.
Oh yeah, I'm getting to that.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm just going to rhyme off some of the things.
My mind's like 100 miles an hour right now.
So in this flat earth arena, it is actually gate kept pretty bad. This flat earth arena, you'll find we don't associate with anyone. We don't actually need to. We do our own work.
Yeah.
But you know, I've come across so many disinfo agents and bullshitters, you name it, in this arena. They talk a lot of woo-woo.
Right.
You know, you're going to get, if they're not teaching me anything, I'm going to lose interest really quick. So there's not many people grab my attention. You know, and rightly so. You can see where our research is and where they are. They're nowhere near where we are. So I'm not putting them, again, I'm not putting people down. There's people out there you can't trust, and you should avoid.
Of course.
You have to use your own discernment. If they're not teaching you anything, you should move on. If they're charging you money, you should probably move on. Truth should be free.
But
you know, everything we output's always been free in APM Research. We don't hide anything. I keep some things from the world because there's things I don't want to share with them, because it could, for obvious reasons, certain things can be weaponized. So I don't want to go into those areas.
Right.
They'll attract attention to me if I did.
Right. I was just curious.
Now going on my channel is being suppressed. I mean, I had over 1 million views 5 years ago now.
Right.
When you look now, it's less than 1 million. How can it go down? I used to stream this 24/7. But you know, it used to be a big burden on me. This research in the early days, it was a burden, because I was worried I could not get enough of it out to inform the world of what's going on. But the more I got out and the more people learned from it and understood it, that burden left me. It doesn't feel like a burden anymore.
Wow, that's great.
Because you're sharing it. And it's a true saying that, you know, a burden shared is a burden halved. It's actually true. I don't feel like it's a burden. I wouldn't care if they told me tomorrow now. This has been put into motion and it's never going to stop. Operation Rainbow is not going to stop now. Doesn't matter what happens to me. There's too many people seeing it.
Right. It's community.
I've literally nothing to lose.
Wow. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. I know all you people would do the same, wouldn't you? We'd all do the same. I know that. Once you come across research of, you know, such phenomenal discoveries, you would have to share it. You have to. You have to, you know, everyone in our team wants to scream at the top of their lungs to the world, but it's so complex and deep. They'd look at you like you're a lunatic. You have to
Yeah.
explain, you have to explain it slowly through videos.
I'm just going to
Well,
ask a
I'm
quick,
excited.
sorry, I'm just going to ask a
Oh, real
quick
quick.
question.
Sorry. Mhm.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
know that Sharon have a hand up, but it's just related to just this. So what do you think the world need to understand or see this?
The rainbows are the easiest way to introduce them to our research because you can prove it to yourself. You will see them creating your weather locally. And then you're going to know we're not lying to you, we're telling you the truth. So, that's why we started Operation Rainbow Warrior. We want people to come and learn how to map your rainbows and learn how they create your weather and all this other information we're sharing.
But even if we can spot and map the rainbows, don't you think people need some proof for what is underneath?
Yeah, that's the building of them. They're going to keep pretending they're building accelerators, and one day they're going to pretend to build one where your rainbow is, aren't they? You're going to say, "Oh, FPV was right. They're building more where that rainbow is," or they're pretending to, because it's actually already there producing the rainbow, isn't it? I'm trying to think of ways to stop, to warn people what they're doing. And the rainbow research is the easiest way to introduce them to our research, because you can go out and prove it. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can go out and prove this to yourself. And it begs all the right questions. Even without our theories, if people realize they reside where they see them, they're going to start demanding, well, what's creating it? Why is it always there all the time? It begs all the right questions, because people are inquisitive. They're going to say, well, no one's explaining why it's there then. Mainstream say the rain and sun creates it, but no, it lives there. It's there permanently. What is it doing? It's going to, all the right questions are going to come from it, aren't they? And if they want answers, they're going to have to come and talk to us. In fact, all the Rainbow Warriors are learning the answers. All the Rainbow Warriors are going to teach what I'm teaching. I'm teaching them what I research and decode. And they're going to, repeat that to other people. They're actually decoding things themselves. They don't actually need, once you get the eyes to see what you're looking at, you'll be decoding things yourself, like Joy's done. She's decoded some stuff herself. They show me images. I know they've decoded it just by showing me the image. They've seen something in that image that they can decode. So they show me the image and I know what it is. So we put words on it and put it in our memes room. So it's not just me decoding anymore. The Rainbow Warriors are doing it as well. And, all these people we want as part of our team. It is our research. We've been here a long time doing it. We can explain it. And we're helping you see it and explain it to family members and friends if you want to. Hopefully one day the whole world's going to see it and realize they've been told a lot of lies about this world. That's where we're hoping it heads. So that's more important to me. I don't really care if you report them back to me. I would like you to do so we can put them on a map, because we are mapping them. They get added to a database. Over time, we can show a map where they all are. This is your new world order, the globalists. This is what they're all doing. This is what it's all about. This is why the world's gone the way it is. It's all to do with this. And this is the only thing that's going to fix it. I can't think of anything else that can change the future apart from teaching people what we've researched and decoded now.
It's very beautiful.
But I think Sharon had her hand up and have for a very, very long time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, back when when Joy was talking about looking for wells, I put in the chat a YouTube video about a person from Ireland, a woman who has gotten into the whole looking for old wells and trying to reopen them up. And bless the water, because of the, Emoto's work with the consciousness of water and everything. But I was wondering, I had listened some to Michael Tessarian, he's done a lot of research. He's Irish. And one of the things that I think I heard him say is that he thinks that the Giant's Causeway is like the entrance into where Atlantis would have been, and that it's sunk off, so when you were talking about cataclysms and stuff, I was wondering, do you know anything about the Giant's Causeway in the whole, what you think these structures are? Is that anything to you?
I know of the Giant's Causeway, and to me it looks like effects that the angels have caused. Other than that, I haven't really looked at the area much. Now Atlantis would be the center of this grid. Look at this grid on the screen. It's the center.
Oh,
That's the center of the map's there. It's not UK. UK is not the center of the map. It's actually there.
okay.
It's in the Atlantic. It's near Ascension Island is where the center is. Aptly named, isn't it? That's where the north, south, east, and west points meet, the cardinal directions. That's the center of them. So that would be Atlantis below there, Atlantic Sea there. It's,
Okay.
it's actually something in the underworld. I think it's the world's largest fusion reactor. I think that's what's below there, the reactor that runs all of this. We have got magnetic data in an older video showing cones coming up out of the map for these areas, so it does make sense what we were saying. We've got a video called the 144,000 video where we theorized that Walter Russell's optical motor is taken from a giant scale version which is below the equator, and it's the heat from this motor that's creating the heat that we see at the equator. It's not the sun doing it, it's something else. The heat at the equator is coming from something else.
I'm not following what you're saying. What did you say, Walter Russell? Say that again.
Which part?
Well, you said that he was taking like he got a picture of it from, or was illustrating it from what direction?
Oh, right, yeah. It's in an old video, on top of the head, I couldn't tell you which video it's in.
Okay.
But, what we used was, we've got some real-world magnetic data that a guy called Ceres overlaid on the map. And where he overlaid it was where we animated what this huge scale motor to be under the international data, under the equator, sorry. And one conscience does our earthquake data, and she mapped where the quakes were, and it all lined up with where we were saying these motor pressure points are on the map. All the quakes are this technology switching on. That's what's causing quakes. It's this technology. It can be mapped. We've mapped it. One Conscience mapped it years ago. That's some of our old research mapping quakes. We tried to tell Dutch since, but he actually blocked One Conscience. He didn't want to know because he thinks he lives on a globe. So we tried to help him. He wasn't interested. But it doesn't matter. You know, we don't need him. We've gone beyond what he's talking about. We've got the cause of all of nature's effects.
And did you mention at some stage, FPV also, that the Big Bang was actually this technology starting up?
Yeah. The Big Bang that mainstream talk about in the APM research model would probably be this switching on. You imagine all this switching on at the same time. All these angels, all of a sudden, they all become active. You're going to get tsunamis, all kinds of crazy events are going to take place. Because they're below the sea, remember, as well as the land. They're everywhere below the sea and the land. That's why you see rainbows in the sea. You'll see them in the sea because they're below there. They're in the underworld.
I just wanted to bring up something since you guys were talking about Ascension Island, and that hit on my ears perked up on my radar because I'm like, where have I heard that recently? And because otherwise I probably wouldn't have heard of that island. And I just realized now there was talk of it, and I think it was put on a map for, you know, a hint drop for those with the eyes to see to pick this up now. Mm-hmm. And that was that whole cruise ship getting supposedly infected with the latest scamdemic. The ship was named the Hondius, and there's ties to Greek and Roman symbology there because they like to go with the Greek and Roman figures, but you know, the they that are trying to oppress the world. But anyway, it was interesting because they're trying to start this whole hantavirus crap, and the cruise ship gets diverted supposedly and ends up at Ascension Island. So I know that was a big tell in the media to get eyes looking onto Ascension Island. So it's just interesting.
It's a usual destination for them to go, isn't it? It's also got the world's longest runway, which we think was used to where the space shuttle would land. It's not going to space, it's going to land somewhere, isn't it? So it's probably Ascension Island it was landing at because it's got the world's longest runway. Also, there's a mound on the island somewhere that some of these astronauts used to put their sneakers or their trainers used to hang them up there. So that to me was like an insult to the creator. That was taking place on Ascension Island.
That's a fascinating. Yeah, there's a big, there's so much to that right now.
Yeah, but it is, it's the closest landmass we can see to the center of this grid. It's the grid that, the center comes from the grid, not the map. It's where this grid's centered when you look at it. The cardinal directions, the center of them all are right in the Atlantic, in between South America and that's it, the northwest tip of Africa. The American
Find the phrase "all roads don't lead to Rome; they lead to Ascension Island."
and then Rome. Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely Rome. These empires come and go, but the same agenda is always there. They keep relabeling, renaming themselves. They've done it for 2,000 years now. If you believe their timelines, empires keep coming and going, and it's the progression of theft of this knowledge. They've gone around the world and destroyed people's creation stories, so they never figure out what it relates to. But it's too late now. We can decode their creation stories. It all relates to this technology. We are doing videos on that. We've got videos coming up and some to work on in the future. We've got never-ending work. We actually decode far more than we can output. It's impossible to output everything into video form because there's just too much. And currently there's only me working on video work, so everyone else is busy. So, sometimes we do slow down a bit outputting things, but it doesn't matter because we're always busy in Discord. We are active daily in Discord. So if you want to ask questions in our Discord, feel free to come in and, interact with us and learn. We're here to teach people what we're finding. You will, over time, add things to this yourself. You will decode things that we don't see, but you need the eyes to see what you're looking at to find it. And that's what we're learning people, how to decode sacred geometry.
Maybe you could post a link to your Discord here in the chat.
I will, yeah, if you like.
Yeah.
Put you directly into the chat room, the main chat. You'll find a lot of this landmass is changed by this technology. There's actually a huge one. I'm not sure where it is. There was a chap on YouTube. He was looking at this landmass somewhere, and it was a giant tor, and he's a geologist, and he couldn't figure out how it was created. But when I seen the image, I knew exactly what it was. I'll show you. This is another tor. Now, I watched the video of a geologist, and he couldn't figure out how this is all formed. And when I looked at it, I knew straight away it's no different to Glastonbury tor. It's an overlapping halos. It's the eye. It's the Vesica Pisces. And the ground around it is formed in such a way only electromagnetics can do that. It showed you that look at the size of it. This is quite a big. There's going to be a big rainbow there. That's going to be huge. That's bigger than the ones we see here. That's quite a big site. So that's going to have a really big rainbow there. Well, actually, two. This is the overlap of two rainbows. That's what you're looking at. This is what it causes on the land. It's like the Glastonbury tor decode. Is the eye gets elevated. That's the eye in the middle that's been elevated by the pressures of this technology. Pretty insane, but this is how it shapes our world. You're gonna come across mounds like this. They come in all sizes. You'll find small ones and large ones. And do consider it's the overlap of two halos where it is. You'll know when you're doing your local rainbows, you'll see where they overlap each other. There's going to be something special there. If not, then it's one that's never been marked, or it's one of the unknown ones. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot with things on the surface marking them, but there's also many that are not marked or known. So we're going to find lots of them before they start stealing them, aren't we? We actually already are. That's my link to Discord there, by the way, if you want to click that and join our Discord. You won't be disappointed. And like I said, the rooms are named, for the nature of research per room. So you can look in and like Joy said, I'm there every day so we can answer questions and all the rest of it. That's the welcome room. That's the main chat. So there's always conversations ongoing, and you'll find I do put some people's work down because some work I consider woo-woo. I have to stop it coming into our Discord. I'm not interested in other people's woo-woo. That's for them to prove. This is for our research and for you to learn from and you know, add to. So other people's research, I'm not really interested in unless it connects to this in some way. So that's the, you know, we've laid some really good solid foundations in our research now that people can come and add more to it, because it's going to take people everywhere in the world to help show us their rainbows anyway. I can't afford to travel everywhere mapping them. So we need people helping map the rainbows. And that will show us where they are and teach you a bit about your local nature. And, you know, give you some confirmation there is a creator and there's a bigger picture. What it is, no idea. Don't ask me. You know, I can decode, I can see the science, I understand the science and how it works, but the mind behind it all, don't ask me to question that because I can't go there. There's some things I can't answer.
So what do you consider woo-woo? What is...
Woo-woo would be, you know, people making claims, but you can't prove them. And
but wouldn't they say the same about this? I mean, we can prove the rainbows.
Well, we can prove this, yes.
Yeah, but what is the cause of it and all that? We don't have the...
Well, you know, our work introduces electromagnetics, which you can see where Walter Russell's work comes from. Walter Russell's already made a cosmogony on this. And it overlays into APM research perfectly. There's only our work actually decodes it. No one in the world knows what Walter's work even what it's referring to. They've nothing to compare it to, so they don't know what it means. We can see what it is. They're trying to steal this and keep it to themselves and get very rich from it and powerful. And they're training their children to work with this technology. Globalist brats. They're going to grow up into jobs working at CERN and places like that. And they're not actually doing anything. Apart from monitoring, reverse engineering and telling us something else. And that's going to keep repeating the more they keep lying that they're building them. They've already been debunked on what they say by Sabine Hossenfelder. She's a scientist. She says what CERN's talking is nonsense. She says they're talking nonsense. It even turned up in the Epstein files that Epstein was trying to find a way to debunk her. It's in the Epstein files. He was asking other scientists how they can make a model that debunks what she's saying. So even they were concerned that a scientist of their own were exposing them, that they're lying. And that's in the Epstein files. Because that's Sabine Hossenfelder, she says, she found the name in there. She says, what's my name doing in there? And it was because she was slagging them off and saying, what they're saying doesn't make sense, it doesn't work. And it obviously got to Epstein, and he was discussing it with people in them files.
It's amazing it goes to that level, but the fun part now is that finally this is the round where we're finally onto them before getting a memory wipe, and we'll see this through this time. I'm convinced.
Yeah. You know, the more learn this, the less chance we're going to forget it again, aren't we? You will start seeing it everywhere in the world. You're going to be shocked because it is literally everywhere once you start seeing it. It's at logos, you know, it's in games, it's in movies, it's in music, it's in motion pictures. It's everywhere. Jewelry, coinage, you name it. You're going to come across this sacred geometry everywhere. And you're going to have a better idea what it's depicting now, or what it relates to.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background and how this journey began.
Right, in 2015, I came across the flat earth topic. It started popping up all over the internet. Well, before then, I was following politics, you know, the American and British politics. They're pretty much the same. They might not look it, but they're exactly the same thing going on. Anyway, flat earth, it caught my attention, so I looked into it. And it only took me 5 minutes to realize it had merits. I've flown aircraft, and I knew straight away we are not adjusting for curvature, and you would have to for a globe. So straight away, I knew there was something seriously wrong here. It's funny that, you know, it's like in the 1990s, I was flying aircraft, and this thought never crosses your mind. It's only when this topic pops up that you start thinking about it. And up until I found Flat Earth topic, I hadn't even considered the world being a different shape. But anyway, you know, the shapes, in this case, it's pretty much irrelevant. Even though they're lying about the shape, it is level and stationary, is what we can conclude just from what aviation shows us. So if any of you are on the fence about Flat Earth, it is real. It's a real thing. You only have to ask anyone that believes in the globe for aviation pitch data to show the aircraft adjusting for curvature, because it would have to. The attitude of the aircraft's going to constantly change up to the point where you're upside down in the south. That information would be recorded, and it isn't. It doesn't exist. So them aircraft are not moving around any globe. They're flying straight and level. So this is what started my research. I thought, wow, they're lying about the shape of the world. Why? So then I realized, okay, if these aren't planets in the sky, what are they? What is creating and moving them? There has to be some mechanism that's making them move. You know, they're not rocks floating in space no more. We've debunked that. So what are they? Are they rocks? No, they're not rocks. They're not even solid. They're not solid objects. They're spheres that have an image imprinted on them that flips and mirrors either side of their true location on the map. That's why people in the south see the reversed image of the moon. It's physically impossible for a solid object to flip it and reverse its image to someone south of its location compared to the north. It's impossible. So it's kind of behaving like a water droplet. There's an image coming from somewhere, which I would presume from below, which is the face of the moon. Either that or the sphere that's creating it has got things on it, and that's what we're calling the moon. You know, all this bit of detail. It might be nothing more than electrical arcing, shading, and dirt, for all we know, you know, on this sphere. But, you know, we're getting into guessing the composition of the map of the moon now, aren't we? Which we don't need to go into. As far as I'm concerned, it's more like scorch marks and things like that related to the process of how this technology works, which we'll get deeper into later. But that was my thought at the time. We're looking at, it has to be technology. Why would they lie about such a great thing? The only reason I could think at the time, this is back in late 2015, there has to be technology involved. So my research began, okay, can I find any references to technology in anything from the ancients, anything from holy books, from creation stories, from glyphs, myths, legends? You have to look at it all. So I did. And lo and behold, it started popping out. I realized what they're talking about in all these characters that they're naming in books or depicting as characters, they're a personification of the technology that we're actually looking for. So this is the map. The grid you're looking at here is what I decoded from the Nazca lines. All these grid lines and circles come from the Nazca lines. And when I seen them there, I thought, I've got to overlay that on a map. That's actually Antarctica at the bottom. That's, you can see it's a lot larger than they usually show. But it is a big place. Anyway, this is the Mercator map. I tried other maps, didn't make any sense, didn't work, and I can find lots of ways to debunk all the other maps that are out there. So I won't work with those people because I know they're lying or they haven't done their research. But, you know, I'm not here to put other people's work down. I'm here to show you how I got to where I am. Now, when we overlaid it with this grid, this map, certain locations started popping up in the world that we had to investigate. Like, if you look at the dots at the top, hold on, I'll get my mouse. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Right, up here, in Norway, I think it's Norway, there's the Kola borehole, yeah? It's right where one of these dots are on the grid. They're drilling, it tells me they're drilling down to something below ground over that location. And the same's happening over here. Where's it? It's this one here. They're drilling for oil here. So they're drilling down to these locations on the map where these markers are. So they're getting things from the underworld that they're lying to us where it's actually coming from. Because, you know, they'll tell you oil comes from dinosaurs. Well, no, I don't think it does. I think it's already here. I think it's part of the process. They're drilling down to it and just helping themselves to it is basically what they're really doing. You know, if you look at all of these dots on here, you'll find there's volcanoes and all kinds in these locations where these dots are. Now, if you remember from your holy books, and even the Book of Enoch, which is not a holy book, it's Old Testament, which is, it doesn't really mention God as such like your Bible would. There's very interesting information in it when he starts talking about the gates in the north, south, east, and west. And that's what caught my attention with this grid, because look, we've got exactly gates in the north, south, east, and west on this grid. So I had to scale it beyond the international date lines, because they would have to be outside of the international date lines. So what I realized then, and I can prove, I did this in 2017, when aircraft are crossing the map, you still see my mouse, yeah? Now, when they show a flight radar 24, you'll see aircraft go across there and then arrive here, yeah? Or going east and then arriving in the west on the other side of the map here. Well, that's impossible on a level plane. If you're going east, you're going to keep going east. You're not going to arrive this side of the world, and vice versa. If you start off in Australia and fly over here thinking you're going to get back to Australia, it's not going to happen. You're on a level plane. Australia is in one location only. It can't teleport across the map. So what I realized was World War II was all about taking control of these perimeters. The North and South treaties had East and West international date lines. They don't want you going outside of this grid. I'll show you the red marker there. They're the prison walls. That's your international date lines and North and South treaties. We're not allowed to venture outside of that box. Because if you do, you're going to realize you don't live on a globe. You're going to find you're actually probably going to get lost. If you went east, you're never going to get seen again unless you know your way back. That's if they let you go east. They're not going to let you cross here. This is where all the navies patrol. They can't let you go outside of this box. Now, in 1937, Amelia Earhart flew from Hawaii. She crossed the map and she went missing round about here, right by the date lines. She went missing. So within 2 years, World War II started. It was because they don't want people going outside of this box. They needed to mark this box as the international date lines. On a globe, you would be able to fly east and arrive in the west, because it's just going to keep looping around, isn't it? But we don't live on a globe, so that can never happen. So they're faking the flight data at the international date lines. They're not crossing the Pacific. Not one person's been able to prove to me in 9 years they're crossing the Pacific. Not one. Because you can't. That sea in the east and that sea in the west are two different seas. They don't meet. It's a level plane, remember. So they can't allow you outside of this box. That's why World War II was about taking control of air and shipping. They control all the air and shipping and tell them how to get around the map. They give them the flight routes, which I found actually take off. If they were taking off from Alaska, right, to get to Australia, say, they would take off from here, they would fly west for a little while, then they would go north, they would go over the top of Greenland and come down through Russia, down this way. I caught them doing it on flight radar. Then I realized that's the only way it can be done. You can't go west and arrive in the east, or east to arrive in the west on a level plane. It's impossible. So there's a deception, and we've done more research after realizing this on the deception of the international date lines, which included sunrise and sunset times and things like this. Someone's asking a question. I'll stand by and wait for the question.
So what happens with the little hop, step, and a jump from Alaska over to Russia? What do they do then?
That's not Russia to the west of Alaska. That's what they fooled you with. It
Right.
can't be Russia because Russia's in the east. I've got a video on my channel. It was a group of young people flying in a private plane that flew from Alaska and landed in what they thought was Russia, west of them. Straight away, military involved, detention, threats, trying to scare the kids. But what I did notice on the flight, on the way to that landmass, there was no compass visible in the aircraft. I was looking in the aircraft and they'd hidden the compass. Why would they hide the compass? In an aircraft, you need that. And what I did notice after it landed, someone had put the compass back on the dash, and guess where it was pointing? Northwest. Russia's in the northeast, remember. It's not in the northwest. So it was definitely a plane landing somewhere in the northwest on land that they're telling us is Russia, but on old maps you'll find it's called Terra Sonis Incognita. It's unknown land that they've claimed is Russia. So this is the deception of the date lines. This is what's taking place. And of course, Russia control that bit of landmass, so they're going to make it hard for people to cross the map that way, because you can't cross the map that way. There's only certain routes you can take. This is why they made the canal systems, Panama Canal, Suez Canal. This is to get across the map quicker, because you can't go outside of it. It's all about, cross. This is all you've got. This is all you've got to work with, and all the flights and everything's getting, the data's being flicked. None of them's going outside of that red box, apart from probably Epstein kind of flights, and these people that control the show, they'll be going outside of it, but we're not allowed to. Commercial aviation and shipping will be restricted to inside that box. Their shipping routes will only move them across the map inside that box. We have done a lot of research on this. I can't remember all the videos now, but over the years, we looked at different things that confirmed it more and more. There's no one crossing there. No one's, I've said to people, you want to debunk me? Get on a plane, GPS your flight, going west, and show me you arriving in the east. Not one person's been able to do it. Because you can't. It's not a globe. Anyway, that's, this is the map work that we were doing. We covered the map first, see, and then as well as be decoding the sacred geometry behind it and what it relates to. This followed on from this discovery. I think someone's wanting to ask a question.
Hi there. I just wanted to say that they give you a little bit of a pseudo hidden in plain sight on the little flight cards in the front of your seats on the plane. It's always bothered me, although now they put it on a TV screen in front of you while you're in flight. But it's always bothered me that they show these large sweeping arcs when you have your destination from one point to the other, and never just a straight line, right? So it's a little bit of a baby hint, because it's always annoyed me, even as a kid. I'm like, why don't they just show us, even for graphics' sake, even if you're not technically telling us exactly what we're doing, draw a straight line, why don't you, right? But it's always these wide sweeping arcs. So it's very telling. And I just came on to seeing this explanation you have of the map on a different link. And I saw, and there was an inset on the flight map, and you were showing how the plane went up and then switched position and went over, from heading west and switched at the line and went back east. So you just really enlightened something for me. Light bulb went off. So thanks.
Hold on a second. Someone's just knocking my door. I'll be back in a moment. Hold on. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Right. What was that, Heidi?
No, I was just talking about in ancient Hebrew, the map is switched around, like it's taking one tick. I don't know if it have any impact at all. I mean, I always get confused just by saying.
Well, in modern times, we know north's, up towards Greenland somewhere, don't we? That's where our compasses all point north. In ancient times, it may have been different. I'm not sure. I didn't live then, so I can't confirm that. We can only go by, what data we've got access to in modern times. We can speculate and guess forever. I avoid that. Let's prove what we can prove currently. What have we, anything we've got access to, we should be able to prove, and that's when you get all the surprises. You can't prove you live on a globe. You can't prove you're crossing the Pacific. There's a lot of flaws happening that shouldn't be, but they are. Back to the reason why they would do that. If you look at the gates again, see the ones in the east, the ones on the right. This is where the sun and moon and everything are coming from and crossing the map. That's why they don't want you going outside that box, because you're going to see where your sun and everything is really coming from. These are the gates or portals that all holy books, creation stories, and the Book of Enoch describe as being gates or portals. Now, I use them in electrical terms. A gate, it's an electrical gate, because the way it works, if I play this this is actually an animation. This is what the sun does over the course of a year. I'll let it play so you can watch. So I've got it crossing once per month just to save on resources. It actually crosses 30 times a month as it's moving to the next gate. So this is the location, what it's doing and where it's going. So this is the July June's gate now. This is where we are right now. This is where the sun is crossing here. So the gate system actually what create the zodiac. I decoded the zodiac because you need these gates to create it. The stars are there to remind you of it, but the stars are not the zodiac. The gates create the zodiac. Each one of them gates is a sign of the zodiac. That's where it comes from. And the way it works, if you look, there's 6 gates above the equator and 6 below. If you remember the Book of Enoch, he described 6 gates. So I think he was describing the 6 gates in the north. How it works, it's got equal and opposite seasons. When we're getting our summer, which we are now, Australia would be getting its winter. And when we get winter, they get their summer. Same with the equinoxes are the same. You know, that's our spring equinox. That's the south's autumn. That's the north's spring. And then when it comes back round to autumn, that's the south's spring and the north's autumn. It took me a while to sync it. And how I synced it was using sunrise angles from New Zealand, so I could position where the sun was coming from using real world angles. So that's how we worked out the configuration of how the gates work. This is what the sun does over the course of a year. In between it going from gate to gate, it moves incrementally every day towards the next gate. The sun moves in this fashion as well. This is what you call epicycles. You can actually record that yourself if you just record the sun crossing using a normal video for maybe an hour. And then you try marking on the sun and stop it every frame as it's going across the map, or every 5 minutes. And then put a little cross there on the map where it is, or on the screen. And you'll see it comes towards you and then moves away from you. It's the epicycle motions that's giving it that appearance. So that can be proven. You know, we have proven that. Sandra P900 Coolpix has recorded it doing it. And Ptolemy, if you remember Ptolemy, he said this is how it works. He depicted epicycles. And mainstream sites tried to get rid of them, saying they're too messy, when actually they actually describe perfectly what it's actually doing. They don't want you to know its technology, see. That's why I give it its halos. It's got 2 halos. That's the sun halo. One's male, one's female. This is electromagnetism. So this technology is electromagnetic in nature. Our nature is electromagnetic, as Walter Russell would tell you. Walter Russell's work covers the electromagnetic nature of this world. And my decodings and research actually decoded Walter's work as actually being the science of this technology. He just couldn't tell you that. They'll never tell you where they got this information from. Walter did say an angel gave him it. Now I could say that would be true, because I do think these people reverse engineered this technology. I think that's what they're doing. They're reverse engineering it. And stealing it, pretending they're building it when it's actually already here. So there is a creator, and their glory would be technology. Now I've asked people of religious beliefs, what is the glory to you? And not one of them can tell me, because this is why I never followed religion. No one can prove or explain how this world was created. Yet in this research, I can actually explain it. No magic wand creator required. Obviously there's a creator, but this is a hand-on build using extremely amazing technology. We've inherited a world that's governed by this technology, is where we're at.
I just saw that Chris was, I think he was trying to say something before, and also Vale.
Right, go ahead, people, if you got questions.
Hey, what's going on, FB?
Hey, Chris.
I'm definitely a flat earther myself since 2013, and I'm an architect and study architecture, but I definitely agree with literally everything you're saying, and I'm not here to making an argument, but I've definitely seen this projection before, with using the Mercator to, of course, explain the sun and the ground, and it's true. I mean, the ground, no doubt, measures flat, and I've always thought, well, flat's not a shape, and well, this thing could be lake shaped, if you will. And I'm sure you're familiar with the moon map that came out, but I was just wondering, have you ever tested, you were talking about flight paths? I'm sure you've heard of the book 16 emergency flights on a flat Earth, or that prove a flat Earth.
They'll only work on this map. I've debunked all them other maps and models. They don't work.
And that's what I was wondering, if you'd ever
Yeah.
projected those 16 flights on this one.
I've done a couple myself before I haven't seen all of his videos. I think you had to buy something to get access to them, which
No, I've got the PDF, if you'd like it. Yeah.
yeah, because I did use one example that it flew from, it was going somewhere, but it had to land for an emergency landing at Alaska.
Right. Or
Which
going
was,
from
of course,
Alaska. Yeah.
which was way off course for a globe.
I mean, it's totally not a globe. I mean, it's almost
Yeah.
laughable in this case.
And the pizza, you'll obviously be aware that the pizza map, the AE or Gleason's maps, that's I call them pizza maps. I'll sit quiet a minute, and any questions you ask them now, and I'll explain.
Thanks, Heidi. I just wanted to add one little point to the whole gate idea and the personification of gatekeepers through antiquity. Of course, we have different figures named in the Western world compared to the East and Far East, as we would call it. But I just wanted to bring up the expression, we say the gates of hell, which is Hades. And if you take that back to the ancient Greek texts, the etymology actually of Hades is the unseen one or the invisible. So it supports that it's what's in the shadows, what's unseen, and it's outside of your boundary box as you have it. And then that further just led me to, of course, they're going to put a personification of Bill Gates, the hidden hand. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, personifications, it makes more sense when you realize, what have they personified and what they're actually trying to explain with it. What do all these personifications actually represent? Because we know they're personifying everything. And that was that's what we've been doing, decoding. Is it a male expression or a female expression? Because this technology, you've got electro and magnetism working together, creating here. This technology is actually creating. As it's this is what they do every day. They're creating. They're all doing creation roles. All this technology.
And all of the secret society hidden hand types that are quote unquote running the world are so obsessed with the inversion of the male and female. So it all makes sense. So we never get to what's going on.
It's the same with the rainbow, isn't it? They've desecrated the rainbow by attaching it to, people's sexual preference. It's desecration on a grand scale. They're desecrating everything that's used to be sacred. So we're putting the sacred back in geometry. That's what our research is going to do.
That's right.
we're going to show the world what it really represents, because it belongs to us all. This is our birthright. This belongs to all of us, not just a handful of people. We've all got a say in this world. We've inherited it. We haven't given ownership of it to anyone. We all have a share in this. But until people realize what the world is and how it works, they're missing all this information.
That commandeering of the rainbow in the ways that we all know now, that is so huge. In the 70s, it was for everyone, and now it's just cornered. And it's bigger than what people think. The ramifications of who's trying to, not the actual people who are supporting it. I have nothing against people's preferences. However, from a global strategy move, they just commandeered the rainbow. Like, who gives them the right, like you're saying, the right to do that? For shame that they're doing this, right?
And before that, kids used them for birthday parties. Look at that. That's terrible. They've taken them off children.
I had jeans with the roller skate and the rainbow. I was all about the rainbow. Loved it. Still do.
Now you probably get called names wearing it.
Yeah, I haven't lately because psychologically they've worked on it, because no one wants to be quote unquote labeled. And look at the whole thing of labels. I don't want to get too off topic, but labels popped up. I remember clearly in middle school with Nike. And what is Nike? One of those, Athena, Nike, the gods, goddesses, the thing that those are the ones playing with all this stuff and trying to commandeer it. So I remember labels just came about back at that one specific time. We didn't have labels before that, right?
Well, all their labels and logos that they use, you're going to find it actually relates to the angels and their processes. You're going to start seeing that in our research. All these logos they use actually come from angelic technology or information and processes.
And isn't logos the ancient word for where God is sitting, or I don't remember exactly.
Oh yeah, and the spirit world, the electromagnetism. This is the spirit world. The invisible world is electromagnetism. A magnet can move things through the ground, no problem. It can attract things towards it through a wall even. Look at the scale of these magnets we're talking here, these electromagnets. Some of these rainbows we're mapping are 3 miles wide and even larger. That's a big electromagnet. Common sense tells me we live on an infinite plane. It has to be infinite, because if it's got an edge, then you're back to floating in debunked fake space. There's no such thing as zero gravity space. So it can't have an edge. There's the sky and the ground, and both are infinite. Now, we don't know how far out this technology goes, but we can tell it goes outside of our known world map already. Now, Admiral Byrd mentioned lands south of the South Pole. When you think of the South Pole, that's the dot at the bottom of the screen there. That's the South Pole. So it's south of there, in other words, outside of the known world, there's land that people's never seen before. There's another clue that, there is lands beyond. There has to be, because the sun's coming from somewhere, or they all are. Look at the one that goes into the Gulf of Mexico. You see the shape of the Gulf of Mexico? One of these goes right into the bay. That's why they always have tornadoes and waterspouts there. It's coming from this technology. This technology is manipulating the seas locally. They're all local events. Localized events. All your weather's local events. Everything's a localized event, even when the luminaries are crossing, like the sun. The sun will interact with local angels in your region as it's passing. This is when you get your storms. Weather changes with difference in speed of winds. The wind speed will increase. Your local angels will become more active, because they're now doing a shepherding role, shepherding, say, the sun or the moon or something across. People don't realize, the process going on is the creation is still ongoing. It's never stopped. They're still creating 24/7. They're doing a program. It's running a program that has a 400-year reset, and after 400 years, it'll shut down and then start back up again. We decoded a 400-year reset. That's what I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it was us that decoded it. We've got videos on it. And every 400 years, we go into a mini ice age when this technology resets and shuts down. Ours has already started. I can't say when everything's going to shut down, but shut down it probably will, because it has in the past.
So you're saying that each 400 years, all this is going to restart, and
every 400 years, yes. The last reset was the 1600s. That was when they introduced the Black Death pandemic. That was them getting rid of witnesses. If you look at our 400-year reset videos, you'll see a lot of paintings and images that came from books of what they were seeing in the heavens at the time. And it's this technology doing its reset roles. You're going to see a lot of strange paintings of things in the sky. It's this technology revealing itself before it resets. We're actually seeing that now with the sun halo. We're seeing the sun halo because something's changing and we're starting to see it. Before, it was operating outside of our spectrum, but now it's becoming, we can see it in our spectrum now. It's showing. That's why they're trying to hide this showing in the sky. They're chems. If you look at the sun halo on the screen, you've got the big halo and a small one, right? The small one we call Adam, that's the male, that's the electric. The big one we call Eve, that's the female. She's magnetic. Their chems hide the big magnetic halo. You can't see it, but you can still see the smaller halo of the sun, the male one. So it's not hiding electric, but it can hide magnetic, it seems. If the only time you will see it properly is especially in cold weather. In cold weather, you might see the full sun halo. And you'll realize you're looking at a configuration of technology that matches CERN. It's the same technology. So CERN is not built by man. Man's just pretending they built it, but it's already there. To me, it's an angel room where this technology is, and they built a room inside that room and hooked equipment to it and said they built it, but they're probably just monitoring it or reverse engineering it. Because according to them, they've now built 30,000 accelerators around the world. Well, who's seen that happen? No one. There's countries getting accelerators that couldn't even afford one. So
yeah, I mean, those, when you told me about those 30,000, I was a little mind blown. Wow. I mean, in my head, I thought we had a few particle accelerators around the world. But that number just blew my mind.
Yeah, when you look, you actually find you've got some local to you. And you know, this technology has always been here, because our research, our Rainbow Warrior program will show you how they create the weather in your local area. Weather's a localized event. It can be local, national, or international, depending on what's happening and how many is running. So you're going to see a lot of localized raining events that, you know, that you are getting them locally, and then it'll go away. That's where your angel switched on, done some interfacing with another that was passing, and then shut down again. We validated our 400-year research by looking at things every 400 years that had happened.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think, we were just talking about how do you keep the next reset from wiping out this knowledge so the next generation can pick up where, and I know you said carve it into stones and stuff, but you know, if I looked at the halos on those, I would never have made the jumps that you've made. Like you've been able to decode stuff that I'm like, wow, are you getting a like cosmic insight from the ether or something? Because I never would have made the jumps. I
did have a mass, what I call a mass realization event, when I was decoding the Nazca lines, when I realized they're actually blueprints for a technological construct. And I had a mass realization event where I seen pretty much what these people have been doing in history and everything. And it took a long time to put it all into video and put this out there, what we're actually decoding.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to claim divine intervention or things like that. I can't really tell you what it was, but something happened in my mind, and I could see all what they've been doing in history and how they pulled this off and lied to us about everything, and you know how this technology actually works. You know, and that's where it came from when I decoded the Nazca lines, and I had this. I can only call it like a mass realization event where all the light bulbs switch on in your brain, and you make all these connections that you've never seen before. So yeah, it was an event that happened to me during the Nazca lines. I actually paced up and down my living room for about a week, you know, wondering, am I really decoding this? Can this be real? I couldn't believe it, but you know, the Nazca lines, there's antennas and technology in those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this map and grid, you know, the grid that we've got there came from the Nazca lines. So it was the start of my research, realizing we're looking at a technological construct. And
Yep.
everything we research and decode, it just keeps proving it more and more. It's insane how it's worked out. It really is. But, you know, that was a long time ago that happened. And even today, we're still decoding it. There's loads of things we decode all the time. Images. I can't remember what we put in the chat now. There's lots of paintings or images that people find from all over the world. You know, they're not from one location. One of the researchers tested me one day. She kept showing me different images of things, and after about 10 of them, you know, I was decoding them and telling her what they were represented. And after about 10 of them, I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "That's interesting." She said, "These are all from different countries, but you're decoding them all the same." I said, "Well, they're telling me the same story. They're all telling the same story to me. You know, I can recognize what it's actually depicting." And it's processes and things relating to this technology, you know, and how it works. That's what they're all there for. That's why they were made. You know, there's a very fine line between worship and glorification. They're trying to say our ancestors were worshipping all these gods when actually they were glorifying the angels is what they were really doing. So a very fine line there that they crossed. They lied that they're worshipping. No, they weren't worshipping. They were glorifying the creation. This is what all the sacred geometry in the world actually is doing. It's glorifying it. We weren't worshipping it. Everyone glorified it because it was so important, and for humans to understand them. It shows me everyone in the world knew at some point in history. Everyone knew and understood this perfectly. And it's only the Roman invasion where everything went sour after that.
What do you think the pyramids were? Were they some kind of technology?
They're actually a nuclear reactor. They work like Walter Russell's motor. Now, they're very clever because they used conductive stone. So the conductive stone can take electrical charge through them. So even though it's made of stone, it's still got metal particles in that will still work the same as a fusion reactor. And that's why water went into it. It's compressed into the chambers and it expands out. Compression and expansion. This is how you compress and expand and create electric. So it was a power station. So was the Rome Colosseum. They've taken the metalwork out of the pyramid and Rome Colosseum that were related to the compression of water. The niches in the King's and Queen's chambers, they're the same shape as Walter Russell's motor. The same shape as the Angels, if you look at them stacking in the sky digitally. It's all compression and expansion. That's what nuclear fusion actually is. It's compression and expansion of water. You compress it to a fusion point, and every stage of its compression, you can harness electrical energy from it, a positive and a negative, on both sides of the motor. You know, Walter's motor was modeled from how this technology and how the Angels actually function, what's powering them. So his motor that he built, he called it an optical motor. It's really a fusion reactor. It powered a 52-room university with all the power it ever needed, and it was only 6 foot in scale. You can work this at any scale. So you can have a giant Angel doing it, or you can scale it down to like Walter did to run a 52-room university. Now, we don't live in 52-room universities, so it tells me something that would fit in your hand could run your home. Scale it down to let's say a 6-bedroom house. You're only looking there at something the size of your hand that would power it. And it's the compression and expansion of water. It's the light particles that's trapped in water that's generating the electric. It's very clever science. It is angel science, creator science. This creator of this world teaches science and knowledge, not worship and religion. That's man-made. That worship and religion comes from man. Science and knowledge is this creator's teaching science and knowledge.
So the thing that heated the university, has it been replicated?
If it has, they're keeping it very quiet. I thought that myself. Well, why hasn't everyone made one of those? I've got the plans on my channel. All the plans that he used to make it. He was building this for the military. So what they've done is kept it for themselves. They've put it in the nuclear submarines, the nuclear aircraft carriers, nuclear power stations, and everywhere else, and kept it to themselves. That's what they've done. Walter wanted to give it to the world. Same as Tesla, all our scientists come with the best intentions, yet once the military gets their hands on it, it's gone. They keep it to themselves.
Yeah, I
But
guess Tesla would turn in his grave if he knew what his name had been used for today.
I think that's why Tesla died poor. He didn't want to make money from it because it would be wrong, wouldn't it? You're making money from the creator's glory. I think that's going to weigh on their shoulders. They're going to have a big burden on their shoulders working on this because they know what they're working on. You'd have to be stupid not to know what you're working on. So Walter and most of the great names out there have tried to tell you about this technology in their own way without actually naming it. Tesla's job was to show you how to work with it. He didn't invent alternating currents. He just called it that. It's actually already here doing it, and it's the north and south poles on this technology that create it.
But an interesting thing is I spent some years on ancient Hebrew and the Old Testament, and I also got another story than what's written in the Bible. And for me, all of it, I saw it as an inner journey, but it could as well go the other way out to this model. And when you have like Cain and Abel is two opposite. One can't exist without the other. The other one will always be there. They're two poles, you could say. The same with Aaron and Moses and Esau and Jacob that turned to Edom and Israel. It's all the same. I mean, it's in the opposite.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the family members come from. You see some of these stories will have male and female characters in, and it's referring to the poles on a halo. That's what it's really referring to. It's either the halo itself or the poles on it, because the poles are also male and female, remember. Your north pole's a male pole and your south pole's a female pole. So it could be the poles on the halo or the actual halos itself they could be referring to. So, when we're decoding it, we have to try and determine, is it talking about one of the poles or the halo itself? But it's always about this technology. This is what you're going to come to find. It will fit in with this somewhere, and sometimes it takes a bit longer to get the answer. Because like I said, you've got male and female characters all over the place. Is it a pole it's referring to, or the halo itself? Because the halo itself would be, the big one would be the female, and the small one would be the male. So it depends on the story you're decoding, what you can get from it. You can't always decode all of it, but you can decode pieces of it because you know what it's referring to. And you find that a lot, really. You decode parts of things, but you can't decode the rest because it doesn't make sense, or it's talking about maybe a process you don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that stood out for me. I mean, the first many books, if you translate them directly into ancient Hebrew and almost they're very similar to Egypt hieroglyphs. It's a repeating story. It's keep repeating. And when you get a bit further ahead in the Bible, there's it doesn't hang together anymore. And of course, we don't know who wrote the Bible and how did it all came together. But that's another thing, that repeating story. Maybe that also relates to...
Apparently it was a Scottish king that wrote the Bible. And it's also copyrighted to a human being. So, whoever the creator's got nothing to do with the Bible. No, the Bible should actually have images accompany it, so it knows, so you know exactly what it's referring to. And once they've removed them images, you've just got a story, and your mind automatically fills in the blanks. You assume it's talking about people. That's how they tricked everyone. They didn't tell you it's personifications of technology. The sun, Jesus is the sun. The gods is the sun. The son of God. God means light. So it's the son of light.
Well, half the fun with all of this is the decoding, isn't it? That's the kind of fun part for us now. We each kind of hold pieces and we search for pieces. And even in Nostradamus, and whether people believe that Tesla, Nostradamus, if these were real people or not, supposedly attributed to Nostradamus's quatrain in 1555, he talks about the great motor of the ages. Well, what the heck, back in 1500s is someone would say a great motor of the ages? Right?
Yeah.
And it's this technology. So it's, they had to hide it. In different ways.
Does it? Yeah, it doesn't fit in with the discoveries at the time.
So a great motor of the ages is, implying a reset. It's implying technology for sure.
At least now you've got a better idea what it can refer to.
Exactly.
That's,
it can differ, and that's the thing.
I can see you've got a good mind already because you're putting pieces together now that relates to technology and not people.
Well, we all come with our piece, and we all come little things like your attention is the rainbows, and more than that. But I mean, in other people, you lock onto something and it makes sense. It's like a language. It's like flows, right? And so we're all coming with our different languages, and we're going to dispel the stupid Tower of Babel moment where it's confusing us, probably a memory wipe, and taking away our ability to speak, But eventually we'll get to telepathy, but that's a whole other thing. So, but the point is that we each have a piece, and it is weaving a story, and we're trying to, get to what's going on. And it's fun to see it more coming together than asunder.
I would recommend, watch our videos multiple times because they're jam-packed with information and decodes. And when something clicks in your mind when you're watching a video, your mind's going to stray for a bit, and you're going to miss part of the video. I noticed that because people say every time they watch them, they say, "Oh, I just found another bit I forgot about, or I didn't know." Yeah, because your mind's gone elsewhere, so you missed a bit of the video. So you're best watching them multiple times if you've got the time to do it.
Yeah, that is how it works. It's a lot to take in, but in a good way, And there's a timing to all of this too, and there's a slow drip that kind of needs to happen for the unfolding for all of us to kind of grasp some of these revolutionary, there's a better word for it, but mind expanding concepts dropping in on us. It's like we're all we've been hitting the snooze button, and now we're like, oh wait, what? We're waking up to something. What? and it's infinite, like you said, it's infinite creation. So you're never going to find the edge of that map. It's going to keep going because creator is infinite, infinitely creating. But But that brings me back to when you mentioned you knew somebody who was flying out to the west over the Pacific and got intercepted. I would love to know how much of a force they have to keep watching that perimeter to stop us from bouncing out of it. I would love to break it.
Any aircraft that cross it accidentally are going to get shot down. I know that because they've done it. Flight 007 Korean Airlines got shot down because it flew outside of the world map. They tried to tell you it crossed the international data lines and went into Russian airspace. Russia's not in the West.
Yeah, when you look at that model.
So it was shot down by possibly America, not Russia. Russia will take the way these people work together, it's good cop, bad cop. Russia's the bad cop. America's the good cop.
Oh yeah, it's one owner of all the teams.
So sometimes they have to play good cop, bad cop when they have to shoot a plane downstairs.
Sure, that's the
because
cover
that was
story.
that was a passenger plane they shot down. They tried to say
they have zero qualms shooting anything down, blowing anything up. It doesn't matter.
Because that plane would eventually run out of fuel or get somewhere it's not supposed to be. So they had no choice but to shoot it down.
Right. I think they let Admiral Byrd, leak that one phrase.
Well, he
was under control.
He fell out of a window in an asylum, apparently, didn't he?
He what? Oh, no, he I think died of the buddy did. The radio man did. And supposedly he died of some type of health related thing, but his son turned up dead in a warehouse who, that's part of it. But anyway, on a happier note, though, they did at least let one, I think, truthful line come out when he said there's a land beyond the lands, and he was going to run out of gas and they turned back. But we didn't get the full story.
And that's another kick in the teeth for the globe, because you would not say south of the South Pole, because on a globe that would put you into space. So he's not talking about a globe, is he? He's talking about a level plane.
Well, he surveyed, according to the story, that was released. So that's all we have to go on right now.
Yeah.
But supposedly he surveyed, but to your point, the world wars and all of that was just an excuse to survey all the territories or lock it down. So supposedly he took a tour over the North Pole first. A lot of people associate him just with the South Pole, but he first did a voyage over the North. And that was the one where he said
the North. When you look at the North one, it's science fiction. That was definitely not written by Admiral Byrd. It's also
right. I'm just saying
fiction,
whatever we're allowed to hear, because going through and authenticating verification, but just for the purposes of face value, just taking their stories for now. We know that's loaded with falsehoods.
Yeah, you're right, because we can't validate it, but him just
and just for a common reference point to start to get into this
strange thing for him to say, isn't it?
It's what?
It's a strange thing for him to say, south of the South Pole.
Well, the first journey to the quote unquote north, was that he entered in an area that the everything got scrambled magnetically. So that's trying to substantiate.
I don't bring that one into it, because that's definitely not Admiral Byrd's writing. Whoever wrote that's not Admiral Byrd.
I'm just setting the foundation for the overall story and then to go from there. But I'm not saying I'm supporting anything. I'm just saying this is the narrative so that we have a common reference for people that maybe haven't heard of it associated with him. But he supposedly goes off and does one tour of the North. But then the rest of the focus of his story is definitely supposedly the South and Antarctica. And but anyway, the point is that there were supposedly two tours. The one where he said there were lands beyond the lands was the North reference story. The South, they don't talk about him seeing lands beyond the lands. The South was just the whole Operation High Jumped. So it was two different stories. Anyway.
No, the story he talked about south of the South Pole, that is in the South. That's South Antarctica. That's what he said on the interview. South of the South Pole is lands that's never been seen by human eyes. That's what he said in that interview.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
This is a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
And I know the more people join us, the more answers we're going to get, because there's jigsaw pieces everywhere waiting to be put in this. I can't do
it too.
I can't do it myself. We haven't got a big enough team to do all that. It's impossible.
But even your information, it is, groundbreaking, but it's not the type of thing that you just kind of sally forth and wander in and like go have that aha moment. It may take like slow bites, little digestion for some. For some, it's an immediate, whoa, I see it, right? So again, It's like each of our individual, I believe our soul knows when we're supposed to pop up, wake up to certain things. And it's like, oh my gosh, if we let them see it now with the eyes to see, oh my God, their whole world's going to change the way
you think about it, when you think about it, it probably does take us about 400 years to work out where we actually live. Think about it, if even though the lines.
Say that again. It takes years for what?
It probably takes us around 400 years to work out what we actually live on. To work out what this world is. So the resets could be 400 years to stop us ever working out what we live on.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Because I was talking to Heidi and we were saying the creator should have put booby traps in place, which I think they probably did. But these people have clearly bypassed these booby traps. But 400-year reset could be another booby trap. Like you start doing this, it's going to go into a reset, and you have to start all over again after it. The world's going to get that biblical type chaos that they talk about in the resets or whatever. Quakes, all the rest of it, tsunamis, and we have to start again.
And I think collectively, we all feel that frustration. Like, dang it, man, we didn't make it in time to get to put this all together before the last one and this one and this one. And I'm feeling it. I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to be cut off here. And there's a reset before we can, all come together and flip this back, from the inversion to the normal.
Yeah. Well, I think the Georgia Guidestones were actually put there to remind them what to do after the reset. Because you look at what was on them. It was about controlling the world, wasn't it? How many people they allowed in the world? I mean, who are they to put a number on that in the first place? But it was all about controlling.
They got more than they need to remember in the bowels of the Vatican or wherever else you want to say it is. So I think they've got it more than on that. But that thing did get obliterated, and that's interesting why that happened in the timing.
I just had a question. Now you were talking about all the pilots earlier, and you said also in the 1990s you were flying aircraft. Did you at that time, you understood that the world was not what you were told it was?
No, I didn't. No. I was a glober. I thought I lived on a spinning ball, and it never even crossed my mind that the aircraft and what it was doing and what we were told. It doesn't cross your mind. It only crossed my mind when I came across the flat Earth topic, and that's when I realized, holy shit, aircraft are not adjusting for curvature. That was it. It took me 5 minutes to realize we live on a level plane. So I'll always use aviation as my evidence for a flat plane. Well, I say level. Well, flat's the wrong word. A level plane.
That's the biggest con artist job on all of us of all time, right? Even as kids, as a little kid, I remember going, no, we're not spinning. Like, I think everybody's common sense and intuition is we're not spinning.
I know.
And then we're lied to, and then we all believe it.
You point the sun out to someone and say, what is it doing? And they're going to say it's going from there to over there. Yeah, so it's moving, not you. They automatically say the sun's moving, like they know. But they don't realize on a globe, it's not the sun moving, it's the world, isn't it? It's the globe. The globe's revolving around the sun, according to them, remember? But when you ask someone what's the sun doing, the first thing they say is it's going from there to over there. So they automatically say it's the sun moving.
Well, what's interesting is
that's correct, isn't it?
Well, it's called sunrise, sunset. And when you break that down into etymology, Set is one of the Egyptian gods. Sunrise is related to Ra. So anyway, it's interesting because we don't say
It's
sun
also
circumvents, sun does a little dance. No, it's just rise and set.
well now you know Jesus relates to the sun. The sun is the Christ, so the Antichrist is the off switch. The on switch is the Christ. The off switch is the Antichrist. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Antichrist, or the Passion of the Christ, as Mel Gibson would call it in his movie, he's actually got a fetish for light switches. It's the shutdown process is what it's actually talking about.
Yeah, I think we talked about the other day about Lucifer. I mean, it's mentioned only one time in the Old Testament, and I mean, I don't think it means what we are told. So here, Lucifer, Halo. The name is only used one time in the Bible, but it comes from halal, and halal means to be clear. And that can mean from a sound or from a color. So something to shine or to show or to boast. So here we're talking about the shining energy lost its position between two poles and descending into a lower layer of the system, maybe.
Here's that children's poem that I decoded.
Oh, yeah.
Jack and Jill. Do you remember this poem? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. It's talking about the angels. Jack and Jill is Adam and Eve. The hill is a Tor. The pail of waters, because they make it rain. Jack fell down and broke his crown. That means he was switched off. He's lost his crown. Jill came tumbling after. She shuts down after him. So it's even in kids' poems to remind you what it's talking about. That's what I said. You're going to find this information in the strangest of places.
It could also be that they went to go get the knowledge and then they fell and they had a reset and they don't remember anything.
But that's what that's talking about right there. Jack and Jill. It's Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve's the big halo and the small halo. You know, it's electro and magnetism. So all the halos, we call them Adams and Eves normally, unless we know the name, like St. Mary, they label them as saints. They're actually just naming the angel, really, if it's a male or female one, the big one or the small one.
But they're denying poor Jill a crown. I don't think that's right.
Maybe you could explain a bit about the kings and queens and the symbolism and the crowns and all that.
I'll show you where the crown.
On the chessboard, right? Like king takes queen, queen takes king, and all that.
I'll show you where the crown actually comes from. You've heard me mention 4 poles being elevated. Yeah.
Well,
Here's an example of it here. Look, see the 4 pluses. There's your 4 positive poles off the halo, and there's your 4 negatives.
And crown relates to the corona or the sun as well.
It's actually the shape this creates in the sky. It's really referring to. Hold on.
That's a great picture. That was a really nice photo.
Here's where your bishop's hat comes from. Look, it represents the Vesica Pisces overlap.
Oh yeah, right there, strategically located.
There's Adam. There's Eve. There's the bishop or the interbase event. This is talking about angels. This is the personification of the process. Analog and digital representations at the sides.
And then you've got a water bearer with a trident off to the side.
Yeah. Creating steam, which would be your clouds and things, the manipulation of water.
Yeah, definitely technology, any way you slice it in that imagery.
Yeah, these are, this is the meme room. You're going to see lots of images. You might not understand the decodes, like this one here. Jesus, there's a rainbow, and then you've got 2 females. It's actually poles 1, 2, and 8 of the sun halo. Pole 1, pole 2, and pole 8. So it's depicting the sun halo. The pot is obviously the torus field. It's also, even the stars, you can decode it from the stars as well. There's crater is the pot. The constellation crater, it represents a pot. This is the crown, look. This is where your crown, this is where royals get the crown from. It's actually the 4 elevated north poles of the male.
And they just made a big deal about the Pope. doing the opening ceremony for Sagrada Familia just like last week. That's Sagrada Familia there in Barcelona.
Mm. Yeah,
And I thought it was odd that the Pope showed up and they made such a big deal out of it. Well, I mean, it is, they say 150 years in the, renovating process. And we know a lot of that was existing prior and, forget about the history of it. But caught my attention that, they just had the opening ceremony now and not any other time, right?
Mm-hmm. There's another representation of a rainbow here in this building design. You can see half of it's above ground and half would obviously be below, like a real rainbow is. And they've used all the colours from the rainbow on the windows.
Yeah, no mistake on the symbolism there.
Yeah. You can tell straight away what it's trying to show you, can't you? There's the Jesus and Mary. Look, it's actually the sun halo it's talking about. The sun and the mother. Son and the mother. The father's there behind. He's just not mentioned in this. That's the father, the male, isn't it? Male, female, and they create this, the son. That picture there is a personification of this. Do you see it? They actually put the circles around it so you can't miss it. You see the scarab beetle shape behind them?
So do you think there's a meaning behind that the rainbow have been hijacked? Because I was now looking into rainbows in my area, and right away it was almost impossible because everything that showed up was all this LBQT++ or what it's called. And that was the majority of rainbows showing up.
I think they preempted us turning up with the Rainbow Warriors arriving at some point, and that's why they desecrated it. They knew someone was going to decode the rainbow sooner or later. There you go, look at this one. Two different photos of two different rainbows over the same cathedral. So I blended the two images together so you can see now where the overlap would be. You see them overlapping? In the background behind there on the map, you find there was a castle there. It's gone now, but there was one there. So the same again, the castle is in the Vesica Pisces overlap of them two rainbows. And this pole, this cathedral sitting on pole 2 of the halo below. They're marking the sites. All these structures are marking where the angels are below, well, parts of them. I mean, what you can see there, the ceiling, there's your 10 in the stack of what we showed in this animation here. There they are. That's how the angels can structure the layers of the atmosphere.
I love it. They try to erase it all, but they're not going to get away with it.
It's too much to hide, isn't it? Because it's everywhere. There's too much to hide. Someone wants to ask a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to see. I know it was one of the. I think it was a couple days ago. Someone posted on your YouTube a really awesome rainbow, and how it goes into a cathedral. I don't know. It was on your post on YouTube, and I didn't know if you maybe wanted to show that. I think it was like 2-3 days ago.
On YouTube?
I'm not sure, but
I'll have a look.
It was a fantastic video to the point. Is that real? And I mean, I know it is. You could tell that it's. Yeah.
Oh, was it this one? It was
so beautiful. I was just like, wow.
Was it that one there?
I'll zoom in.
This one.
Yes, I believe. Yes, and then how the clouds moved in. I honestly thought of Barley because she's the knowledgeable one about clouds, and yeah. But I watched that and I was just like, wow. Like I've never seen a rainbow that was so dominant in the sky. Like just, yeah.
You can almost feel the structure in the middle of it, right? It's lit up. You can almost sense the sphere.
The middle, you can see the middle because the light's refracted. It's a lot brighter. You see it, the bright.
So beautiful.
That's very close to him as well. Look, you can see where the sides actually come down.
And it zooms in, and yeah, it was neat to watch it.
He's got a drone. There's a race on between me and him to get our drones above one.
Wow.
He's followed us for a long time. You know, he is a follower of our research. He made this video to tell me that he's captured one. Yeah, I've flown drones a long time, and bringing it to rainbow research. You know, one day I'll get up there and catch one. I did catch one with my other drone, but it's too far away. By the time I got there, I got a flat battery before I got to it. But I did fly up high and mark where its side was coming down, so I know where that one is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost getting a little stressed for next time I'm going to see a rainbow here, because I'm going to have to run up, very up high, and knock on a neighbor's door so I can get up and get a higher view and a picture.
A camera on a stick. Yeah, the drone does make it easier, but you have to have it on standby for when the rainbow suddenly appears. Make sure it's charged up. I have captured one with my other drone. I'm waiting for a smaller one to appear so I can get this drone above it. The big ones, they're too high up, you can't get to the top of them. They're too big.
But I mean, it is a good way to hide all this technology if it is underground, because all these places are being sacred, and churches and whatever on top, and no one is allowed to dig down. And
well, now you've got an idea why they build where they build. They're marking the site for a reason. There's something special there that they're marking.
You never get hassled for using your drone, do you, in public?
No.
Okay, good to hear.
Most people don't even know where I'm standing. I hide myself. I've got goggles on. I'm steering it with goggles, so I don't even need to be anywhere near it.
Need to give you a Harry Potter invisibility cloak.
I can send it miles. I can send this drone miles.
Yeah, you're doing a great advertisement for all of us to go get a drone now.
I do promote it in our Discord, and I even give them advice on which ones to go for, depending what kind of flying you want to do.
what about underground, if you can squeeze down somewhere?
Yeah, if I had access. Well, a shortcut, I say shortcut, it's probably a long cut. Your lava tubes will lead to an angel room, because the lava is what they're creating. That's your elements all molten and nuclear. That's what lava is. It's what the angels are producing, lava. It all gets molten down into lava. So if you can find a lava tube and follow it, it should lead you to an angel. Now, most people that go down there, they either go missing, or it's just too long, or it's flooded. They go for miles, these lava tubes. But where are they coming from? They're actually manufactured. We've done a video. You can see they're actually manufactured, these lava tubes. They're designed to compress and expand the floor as it's moving. It's actually in the design. You can see it on the walls. If you watch our video, you'll understand when One Conscience takes you through the video. She's explaining it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Shipu I watched many years ago, and a lot of those actually just look like man-made tunnels. And when there's a whole other aspect to it, because what is lava? And it might not be what we have been told it to be, and how it can actually start.
Yeah. Because they're telling you it's molten rock. It's actually molten elements of rock and all kinds, because it's that hard to process. The volcanoes, the induction zone of Adam and Eve's halo. Certain configurations of this technology is what's creating the volcanoes. In scriptures, it calls them the seraphim, the fiery ones. So I think it's a certain configuration of the angels that's causing the volcanoes and the molten process. Probably big angels, melting, creating stuff and melting everything around them. You've got this is where your induction cookers come from. It's ripped off from this technology. Induction coil. Eve's is an induction coil. Adam's is a conduction coil. There's induction and conduction taking place between these two coils. And that's where a lot of man's technology is coming from. Like I said, an induction stove is basically taken from this idea. So you can see where some of man's inventions have came from. An induction coil.
So I have a question about other, I guess you'd say, technologies. With the very large array that's out in, I think it's New Mexico or out Arizona, the radio telescopes that all aim at the sky, and they supposedly take pictures of nebula and whatnot. I heard recently somebody put forth the idea that that's actually a technology that can cause earthquakes, kind of that it focuses the energy from space into the earth. And I was wondering if you've heard anything or do you know anything about the Very Large Ray and how it fits in with technology?
Well, there's nothing in space that can do it apart from the Angel technology, because they create the quakes. It's the quakes are them switching on. You know, One Conscious has mapped them in our early days when we were covering this. The quakes have got a mappable, you know, they can trace them and map them, and they're very predictable. They shouldn't be, but they are, you know. That was another thing. Wow, they're actually predictable. So you could save lives by warning people. These people know how this technology works and it creates quakes and all the rest of it. They could warn you, but they can't, can they? Because you'd say, well, how do you know? So they know what's causing it. When they start up, you see this electromagnetic process. You think of the two magnets and that pressure between them. That's what's causing the quakes. That you know, they're trying to either attract or repel. That pressure is what's shaking the ground. So there's our answer for earthquakes. It's the pressures of this technology when it's operating. It's causing the ground to shake. It's trying to break loose. It's, you know, they want, Adam and Eve want to be together, and this technology is separated in a way that they can't properly be together. You know, this is because what they're doing is separating the North and South poles. All the magic happens in between them two poles. That's where things start getting created. Elements and, you know, the interface process, because the North poles get elevated into the sky, the South poles get elevated downwards. In between the interface event, that's Adam and Eve trying to get back together. That's all them pressure and forces trying to come back together again. They don't like being apart. So it's actually, it's probably the best love story never told when you think about it, because Adam and Eve want to be together. And this technology is separating them. It's separating the poles apart is what it's doing. This is what it's actually doing. It's it's stretching the poles apart into the sky. And they want to be together. So that's what's causing the ground to shake. That process is what it's doing. They want to be together, and it's going to cause the ground to shake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and how does that fit in, or how does the tectonic plates, are there actually tectonic plates, and are they along those circles that you have?
The tectonic plates would be groups of angels in certain areas. So when the sun comes into a certain area, that plate's going to become active and activate all them angels, because it's going to interface with them as it's crossing, remember. So something in this technology is either sending signals or activating things as it crosses the map, and things get switched on to do their function and role. So, you know, it's definitely automated. They're all automated processes. This is automated. It's not, you know, it's not some guy down there pressing buttons. It's automated. It keeps doing the same thing over and over. And then it'll reset after 400 years, and then it'll run for another 400 years again. That seems to be what it's doing all the time. So it's definitely automated. Very high tech, computerized, definitely. I think that's where computers came from. They stole the idea from down there. All of our technological advances have came from how these work. They can work with it. You know, everyone mentions the Industrial Revolution, but they don't mention the technological revolution that we've been having. And look where it's at today. The technology we've got now is insane. Look at all the technology advances we've made in the last 50 years alone. When's that ever happened? Yeah, it's coming from down below. You know, they're creating and inventing things from it. Is that a good thing? Well, we like our technology, don't we? We like our technology, but they're not telling you where it came from, where they got the ideas from. So most patents, I would say, are probably up for a question. You know, did they really invent it, or has it been taken from this in some way? A lot of their technology I can see come from ideas knowing how this works. It's like when you see the sine wave on the oscilloscope. You ever seen a sine wave on an oscilloscope? oscilloscope, when you're working with electrical equipment, you can connect the oscilloscope to certain, like a TV set, say, and it'll show you the sine wave. Sine wave in 2D, in 3D that would be a spiral. So it's actually showing you a spiral. This technology spirals. It's all spirals. This is what's sacred about the spiral. The sacred spiral from ancient times. It's how this technology actually works. The spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism is what it's actually talking about. Again, another thing to decode of the spiral. That's what's precious about the spiral. That's what's sacred about it, because it represents how you create electricity. Electricity is the compression and expansion of wire. The light entities within the wire are being compressed and expanded by a waveform traveling down the wire.
So maybe this is also explaining what we call gravity, which may not be what we think it is.
Yeah, we did decode. I'll give you a link to it. We already decoded gravity equals mc squared. We debunked Einstein. Einstein's work's a train wreck. He actually set himself up to be a train wreck in the future, believe it or not. And I'll link the video there. This is our research on Einstein, LIGO, other theories of other people's, like rising Earth. We debunk that in it. So the world's not moving. But that'll explain, what Einstein was talking about and how his theory actually fails. And then we go into, our decodes of things, gravity and all the rest of it. Gravity is it's the pressure, it's the electromagnetic pressures of this world. Lighter things will rise, heavy things will fall. The heavy things are falling towards Eve's electromagnets. So the ground layer would be a magnetic layer. That's the vertical one. That's Eve. So we're in a magnetic layer. That's why heavy things, metal things will fall. The next layer up is a lighter layer. So lighter things would rise up in that layer. They're all rising to their, where they're supposed to be, basically. Like certain gases will rise to a certain altitude. They've all got their place in the stack somewhere. And it's the gravity, the electromagnetism that's manipulating it. Now, that feeling for us is pretty much the same everywhere in the world. It's not really noticeable to us because we're not made of metal, so these electromagnetic pressures don't affect us like it does metal. But we can still feel the winds and things going on. And that's what they're trying to call gravity. And there's no outer space or zero gravity floaty space. It doesn't exist. Rockets have to have something to push off. So when they launch them, big powerful engines, that thrust will push against the ground and make it rise. But once it gets out of our atmosphere into thinner air, there's nothing for it to push against. So it's going to come back down. It's not going to go into space. It can only come back down. That's why they've got a parabolic trajectory. They fire them off towards the sea. There's no people on them. It'd be dangerous putting people on a rocket. They fire them off towards the sea and they'll be coming down in the sea somewhere, probably in the Pacific or the Atlantic even. There's no zero gravity of space. You can't have our layer system, our pressure system terminating in the vacuum. It wouldn't make sense. You can't have a vacuum beside our pressure system. So there is no vacuum of space, it means, isn't it? It's just nonsense. But the space is just man trying to take credit for what's happening up there. Angel processes, nothing to do with man.
So in your point of view, what is the Milky Way? Is it much further out than the sun and the moon? Is it a spiral?
I did decode the Milky Way. Hold on, I'll show you that. Yeah, my decode of the Milky Way shows you how it's responsible for the tides. It's this image here. The Milky Way is a spiraling pressure wave crossing the map east to west. It's what, if you look at the world chakras on that image at the top, you can see how the positive and negative sides of the spiral cross. Now this image here, you've got a positive side of the spiral and a negative side. The positive side is what the sea's chasing. That's why it keeps moving. It's following the positive side of this spiral. So over the course of 2 revolutions, it'll do 2 revolutions. That's 24 hours. In 24 hours, the tides move 4 times chasing that positive. It's moved north, it's moved south, it's moved north, it's moved south. That's what it's doing. This is the only thing that will react with create the tides. It's nothing to do with the moon. The moon's a localized event. This is a big world event, the tides. And in the center there's a less effect of it in the center because it's too far from the sides. So the tides in the center of the map hardly change, and that's true. The Mediterranean Sea, it's hardly got any tide at all. Now, where it comes down into the water and comes out of the water, that's going to be the most violent areas, and we actually see that in the north and south. The South Seas are famous for violent areas of sea. It's because it's where the positive's coming down. Same in the north, where the positive comes down in the north, the seas are going to be very violent. That's true. That's already true in the world. You know, I've seen plenty of videos of the South Seas. They look horrendous to navigate, really wild seas, and this is why, because this is where these spirals are coming down. So you got a calm effect in the center, and it goes chaos on the outside. And like I said, 2 revolutions across the map, and that's your 24 hours of tidal movement. 4 tides. Yeah, 4 tides a day. It's caused by 2 revolutions of the spiral. Because this spiraling pressure wave has to be coming from an electromagnetic coil that's standing vertical and halfway up, sticking up the ground by the look of it. So we've got a vertical halo of that scale from, say, Australia to somewhere in the north. That's its diameter, standing up somewhere past these gates or somewhere, because it's spiraling this across the map all the time. It's the only thing that can answer tides is the Milky Way spiral. I can't think of anything else that would affect the tides other than this. It shows you, what it does show you is how precious our world actually is, doesn't it? There's a lot more to our world than people realize. So these have been running long before our inception. This world had to be, created before our inception. It came before us. We're a product of it, but we came later than its inception. So the detailing of the construction of it was probably, someone that's either theorized how it happened. Now, when I decoded some of the main work, the mains, their creation story, their 7 gods were always at war with each other, but they realized if they work together, they can create. It's talking about the planets, the sun and moon. That's the main creation story. They're talking about the planets, sun and moon, working together, creating, because that's exactly what they're doing. They have processes and roles to do. They're not just lights in the sky. They're actually doing things. That's probably going to be another mind-blowing thing for people to consider. Yeah, they've all got processes and roles to do. They're all involved in creation processes. They're doing what they've been programmed to do. We've decoded so much. I don't think people realize how much we've decoded yet. Like I said, we can't put it all into video. There's just too much. So we focus on certain things that we can, like the rainbows, we can prove they're local to you and how it connects to all these structures on the surface. So our research is more based that way, where you can go outside and prove this to yourself. So we're not lying to you. You can go and prove what we're saying to yourself. We have no reason to lie about this. We're not here for money. We've never asked for money.
Yeah, so maybe, before we wrap up, is there anything we didn't talk about? I'm all, my brain is melting a bit. So is there anything important for people to
it's
hear?
All important, but I'm not sure. We've covered quite a lot, I think, today. And, you know, we watched a few videos. Normally we would talk rather than show you a video, but hopefully them videos, you know, give you a better idea of where we're coming from and why we animate them like that. There's your Milky Way. Look, that's what it's doing.
Wow.
There's your male and female great dragons. It's actually the spiral. It's talking about the spiral. Dragon represents a spiral. So it could be them that's activating and deactivating sites around the world. When that waveform overlaps certain places, it could be activating something, then deactivating it. You know, they call them the world chakras. What are they? They have to be angel sites, don't they? It actually makes sense that they are, and the way they word them. Spinner wheels, they call some of them. How can you have a spinner wheel under the map? What does a spinner wheel do? It's talking about this technology and how the flow goes around the halo.
But why is that the fourth chakra?
Well, that's what they numbered it. That's what I've just used their number. You know, they numbered it in a certain order, so I've just used their numbers that they used. They call it the fourth for a reason. So it's maybe part 4 of the stage or something. More to work out, you know, that we could even go deeper into that at some point. But I just highlighted it to show you, you know, this site's created by the overlap of two rainbows. This is a Vesica Pisces interbase site. And the church tower on the top, St. Michael's. So there's the name for the angel. We'll call it St. Michael. Or Adam. Take your pick. It's a male, you know, it's showing you there's a male connection there and the female one overlaps it. See the fog on the ground? That's Eve. That's Eve dividing the waters. This is at sunset, so it's not going to rise and the anode's already passed and gone west. So, and if you look at it, it's actually creates a big circle on the map. It's actually the fog right above the halo, if you look at it. It creates a circle. This tour is actually called the Island of Apples. Apples being Taurus fields. It's talking about the angels again. The Isle of Apples, I think it translates as. Island of Apples. Because it probably becomes an island, see, with all that water rising. And there's your 4 octaves in the design of the tower. You see the buttresses, how there's like 4 different points on them, stick out and it gets narrower and narrower. That's fusion again, compression.
But it couldn't just be the way people are building because it's more efficient or...
No, it's marking an angel site, so whatever they build on it's got to relate to it in some way. So they're using that building as like an obelisk depiction, aren't they? An obelisk called St. Michael. Pretty much, isn't it, when you look at it? Although it's not your typical obelisk, but it's a vertical tower, so it's another way of kind of depicting an obelisk, isn't it? It's an interface site. And these colours are what create the electricity in Walter Russell's motor, where the octaves are that you would harness electric. The plus and minuses. So them numbers, you know, I got them from Walter's work. The octaves and the numbering like that I decoded them from Walter's work. And there's your anode and cathode. That's Adam and Eve. So that's what's kind of taking place in the Taurus field. Inside your rainbow. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I was about to say maybe we should wrap up because my brain is totally melted. I can't even. It's
getting less. We're
3:30 in the night.
We're getting less people, and the questions are coming slower now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and explain all of this. And maybe, hopefully, we can get the opportunity to do this another time with more questions.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to ask questions, just come in our Discord. I answer them every day. If I'm not there, some of the other team, I'm usually always there. But if I'm not, some of the other team members might have a go at answering it for you as well. So we're all learning. I'm teaching all these people in Operation Rainbow Warrior how I decode things and what they need to be looking for and how they decode it. So and they have a go at it as well. You'll be doing that yourself in no time. You're going to start recognizing what all this sacred geometry is telling you. It exists for a reason, and it's a very important reason. But yeah, we can wrap up if you want, if you're ready. And it was a long session, that wasn't it? So that was like, what?
5 hours?
5 hours?
Yeah.
And I said 2 hours goes quick.
Yeah, it does. There's so much to look at.
5 hours went quicker, I think, today.
Yeah, but thank you so much.
No
Yes,
problem.
thank you.
You're very welcome, ladies.
Okay.
And we'll look forward to meeting you in our Discord and mapping your rainbows. I'll jump off and let you to have a chat, and I'll catch up with you later.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you.
Good night, Bob.
Bye.